Chapter 25-29. What method did you use? That Xiao family's elder woke up in an instant. Guanxilin was a bit curious. A person who had been in a coma for 2 years was actually able to wake up in an instant. I used silver needles to treat him and opened up his blocked meridians. Naturally, he woke up. Fengjiu gently smiled. However, after being in a coma for 2 years, he still needs to be carefully nursed back to health. It will be very difficult for him to return to his previous peak in a short amount of time. Hearing this, Guanxilin smiled. No wonder people outside say that you have the ability to bring the dead back to life. Tell me, is there anyone in this world who can compare to you in terms of medical skills? The world is so big. How do you know that there is no one who can compare to me? The corners of her lips curled up slightly as she looked forward. Perhaps in other places, there are also people who are extremely proficient in medical skills. The two slowly walked while chatting as they headed towards the Heavenly Pill building. Outside the city, Mo Chun, dressed in white like an immortal, was flying over on his flying sword. When he reached the city gates, he put away his flying sword and slowly walked through the gates. This time, he did not directly go to the Heavenly Pill building or the Feng Manor. Instead, he returned to his home. Over the next few days, Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's busied themselves with taking care of the matters they had left behind. As for Ning Lang and the others, after staying in the Feng Manor for 2 days, they bid farewell to Fengjiu and the others. They were also preparing to return home to take a look. After returning home, they would go to the former Phoenix dynasty to find Fengjiu and the others. Thus, after they left, the Feng Manor became cold and cheerless. On the other side, at Ren Xiang's cool breeze building, Ishiran, who had been tormented for many days, was filled with a sinister aura. He was the dignified temple master of the Temple of Darkness, yet he had been tormented for so long. Every time he thought of this, he felt an urge to kill someone. In the courtyard of the cool breeze building, Ren Xiang was currently greeting Hui Lang. "Why do you come to my place? Aren't you at Master's side? Could it be that Master has an important task?" Ren Xiang looked at Hui Lang and asked. He thought that if it wasn't an important mission, he wouldn't have sent Hui Lang on this trip. However, what kind of mission did his master have for him? Hui Lang chuckled and didn't answer his question. Instead, he asked, "How is that Ishiran doing now? TSK, what do you think?" He glanced at Hui Lang and said with a faint smile, "You've been here before. How could I not know how he is?" I'm just curious." Hui Lang smiled embarrassedly. "Of all the people Ishiran could provoke, you say? Why did he have to provoke the ghost doctor? Who is the ghost doctor?" "That's our master's woman, our madam. How dare he provoke her with such a status? I reckon he's tired of living." Ren Xiang glanced at him and said, "Let's get down to business. What did master send you here for?" Hearing this, Hui Lang smiled strangely. "There must be a task for me to be sent here." He took out the thing his master had given him and handed it over. "Master sent me here because he has an important task for you. However, because master didn't have a watermark on it, he just wrote it down and handed it to me. So, I couldn't help but open it." Ren Xiang chuckled. "Oh, you even dare to ask about the secret order master gave me? Your guts have grown." As he spoke, he reached out to take the thing he handed over. Chapter 25-30. Of course. How can this handwriting be wrong? Hui Lang grinned. That Ishiran is obviously a wolf with wild ambitions by sticking close to the ghost doctor. Tell me, if master doesn't take care of him, who will he take care of? Ren Xiang glanced at the note in his hand before putting it away. "I understand." He stood up and asked, "When are you going back?" "I'll return after taking a look at Ishiran." Hui Lang then added, "Oh right, master will be accompanying the ghost doctor back in a few days. Feng Yi and Zhao Yang, those 2 brats, are still alive, so the ghost doctor plans to bring them back. Also, it seems like Guanxilin is preparing to marry Yiqing. I reckon they won't be back so soon." "And man, I understand." He looked at Hui Lang and said, "Follow me." Hui Lang grinned and followed after him. Actually, he was quite curious to know what Ishiran had become after coming here. He followed Rin Xiang to the second floor of the Cool Breeze abode and pushed open the door to the loft. When Hui Lang saw the figure sitting on the reclining chair and drinking wine, he couldn't help but grin. However, the moment his smile widened, he glared and shouted, "Why didn't you tie him up? You're just going to leave him here like this? Aren't you afraid he'll escape?" Inside the room, Ishiran wasn't tied up. Only his spiritual aura was sealed, so he was as inconspicuous as an ordinary person. However, his outstanding appearance and aura, as well as the noble aura that he exuded, caused others to overlook the fact that he was simply wearing a thin veil. He was drinking wine in the room. His carefree manner made it seem like he wasn't trapped here, but rather the owner of this place. It was no wonder Hui Lang shrieked when he saw him. After all, he had been tied up back then. Ishiran sipped his wine and coldly glanced at Hui Lang. "Fengjiu sent you here? You're thinking too much. The ghost doctor already can't remember who you are, so why would he send me here?" Hui Lang snorted and walked in. "I'll tell you the truth. I came here today on my master's orders. Let me tell you, it's best not to provoke the ghost doctor again. You can't afford to provoke her." Ishiran narrowed his eyes and stared at Hui Lang. He asked, "Xinyuan Mose? He's back." "That's right." Hui Lang crossed his arms and smiled to say, "You're here, you don't know, right? Some time ago, the people of the Demon Clan attacked the Nebula Immortal Sect, and the Ghost Doctor fought with the Demon Lord. In the end, my master just happened to rush back, and even the Demon Lord was heavily injured by him. You should remember your own strength." Ishiran didn't say anything and merely lowered his eyes. It was unknown what he was thinking. "All right, I'm leaving too," Hui Lang said and looked at Rin Xiang. Rin Xiang smiled. "Just tell me if you want me to send you off. Why are you looking at me?" He walked out and said, "Let's go. I'll send you off." "That's more like it." Hui Lang grinned. "Actually, I wanted to drink a few cups with you, but I was worried the journey would take too long, so forget it. I'll treat you when I have the chance in the future." Chapter 25:31. What's wrong? Rin Xiang frowned slightly and looked in the direction of the Cool Breeze gang. He could faintly hear the sounds of fighting. "That Ishiran has been rescued by someone," the guard said, not daring to look at them. He lowered his head. Hearing this, Rin Xiang was startled but didn't say anything. At the side, Hui Lang cried out in surprise. "What? Rescued by someone?" He glared at Rin Xiang with an inquiring expression. "There's no use looking at me." Rin Xiang spread his hands. "Ishiran is the temple master of the Temple of Darkness. How long do you think my Cool Breeze gang can keep him here? Although I've been watching him very carefully, I really don't know when he notified his people to come and save him. Then what do? We haven't done what Master specifically instructed us to do. Now that he's escaped, how do you think I should explain this to Master? Just tell him the truth." Rin Xiang said, "Master mainly wants him to not get close to the Ghost Doctor. I think that with your warning just now, he should know what to do." "All right then, I'll go back and tell Master. Anyway, he escaped from your place, so it's your fault." He patted his shoulder and said, "I'm leaving." With that, he left on his sword. 100 Rivers City, Nail and family. Mo Chun had already returned for a few days. However, he didn't go out. He didn't even go to the Feng residence or the Heavenly Pill building. No one knew what he was thinking. In the Heavenly Pill building, Feng Jiu, who was handling affairs, closed the documents on the table and stretched. Perhaps because he had sat for too long, his shoulders were sore. Thus, he called Bai Qingxing over. "Massage my shoulders." He lay on the soft couch in the pavilion and ordered Bai Qingxing, who was standing beside him. "Yes," Bai Qingxing replied softly. She was now 100% loyal to Feng Jiu and had long put down her airs as the Bai family's young miss. In the Heavenly Pill building, she had been promoted from a servant girl who did odd jobs on the first floor to Feng Jiu's personal servant girl. Bai Qingchang massaged her sore shoulders and stretched her back. She lay on the soft couch and couldn't help but close her eyes, feeling a little sleepy. "Master, my sister had someone send some sugar water and snacks over. They're still warm. Do you want to eat now?" Lung Hua came in with the food and placed it on the table. Let's leave it for now. I'll let Qing Chang help me loosen my bones first." She lay on the soft couch and didn't even open her eyes. "Master, I heard that young Master Mo Chun has been back for a few days. Lung Hua said as he arranged the things in the room. Feng Jiu was a little surprised when he heard this. He's back. Then why haven't I seen him in the past few days? I also find it a little strange. These past few days, he hasn't come to the Heavenly Pill building, nor has he gone to the Foam Manor. It seems that ever since he returned, he has been staying in the Nailin Manor and hasn't left. Lung Hua said warmly. He said that his master asked him to go back this time. Something must have happened, she said, turned her head slightly, looked at Lung Hua, and said, we will leave in 2 or 3 days at most. You go to the Nailin Manor later. Tell him about it, and ask him if he's in any trouble. Chapter 25:32. Hearing this, Feng Jiu chuckled. Don't worry. In the future, the matters of the Heavenly Pill House will be handed over to you. Also, there is a large construction project on the floating land. I will let them build a town and a market there. When the time comes, it will be a top sky city. After loosening her bones for a while, Feng Jiu motioned for by Qingcheng to stop. She got up from the soft couch and saw a lot of sugar water on the table. She said to Bai Qingcheng, just scoop a bowl out and put it here for me. Take the rest and share it with your 2 brothers. Hearing this, Bai Qingcheng was stunned. She looked at Feng Jiu with some surprise and quickly thanked her. Thank you, master. Then she stepped forward and scooped a bowl out and placed it on the table. She took the rest away. Seeing Bai Qingcheng leave, Lung Hua smiled. Master treats her so well. Am I not good to you? Feng Jiu smiled and motioned, sit down. Eat with me. Yes. Lung Hua responded gently and sat down without refusing. She has been here for a long time. You have all seen her behavior. When I came back recently, I saw that she was indeed not as arrogant as before. She is willing to do things honestly. Naturally, I will not push her away. She picked up a snack and ate it while saying, her talent is not bad. As long as she is loyal, it is not impossible to cultivate her. Master is right. Lung Hua responded and also picked up his chopsticks to eat. The 2 of them didn't talk about eating, so they didn't speak. Instead, they chatted casually as if they were at home. When they finished eating, Feng Jiu stood up and said, I haven't seen Mo Zhe and Hauer for the past few days. I'll go back to the manor first. You guys look after this place. Yes, master, don't worry. Lung Hua stood up and walked out with her. Not long after Feng Jiu returned home, Lung Hua also went to the Nailin family. After all, Mo Chen's friendship with them was not shallow. In the past, when the Heavenly Dan building encountered any problems, they would often help them. Lung Hua had never heard of their master not coming to visit. Therefore, he felt that it was reasonable for his master to be worried that Mo Chen might encounter some difficulties. Furthermore, his master was about to make a trip home and would not be back for a while. If Mo Chen really encountered some difficulties, perhaps his master and the Yama Lord would be able to help him out. After entering Nailin Manor, Lung Hua was led by the housekeeper to Mo Chen's courtyard. Eldest young master, Steward Lung of the Heavenly Pill building is here. The steward called out from outside. In the courtyard, Mo Chen was reading a book. When he heard this, his eyes flickered and he called out, Come in. The steward motioned for Lung Hua to go in, and then he withdrew first. Young master Mo Chen. Lung Hua came in and bowed to him. You came to find me. Did something happen to your master? Mo Chen closed the book in his hand and asked. No, Lung Hua said in a warm voice. He smiled and said, It was my master who ordered me to come over and inform young Master Ma Chen that we might be making a trip back to the Phoenix Dynasty in the next 2 or 3 days. Moreover, we shouldn't be able to return in a short period of time. My master said that if young master encountered any difficulties that he couldn't solve, she would be happy to help. Chapter 25:33. All right, then I'll go back first. Lung Hua nodded with a slight smile. He bowed and left first. After watching him leave, Mo Chen withdrew his gaze and returned it to the book in his hand. However, this time, he was unable to read the contents of the book. Inside the Foam Manor, Feng Jiu was playing with little Hao. Seeing little Feng Yi come over, she said, Weren't you cultivating with Yang Yang? Why did you come here? I've been cultivating for a long time, so I came out to play. I'll go back in a bit. Little Feng Yi smiled and squinted his eyes. He moved closer to Feng Jiao and said, Xiao Jiao, the medicine I told you about last time, you still haven't given it to me. Are you in a hurry? Feng Jiao glanced at him. What do you need that medicine for at such a young age? Also, when you come back this time, I will be sending you back to the mountains. You won't have a chance to go out and wander around. Being young is useful. We've been in danger many times on the road, and it's all thanks to those medicines. But Yang, and I don't have any more now, so we wanted to ask you for more to protect ourselves. He tugged at her sleeve. Just give us some more. Seeing this, Feng Jiao placed little Hao back into the cradle. Only then did she take out a large bag of things from her space. However, when little Feng Yi reached out to take it, she slapped him. Go call Yang over as well. You give it to me, and I give it to Yang. It's the same, Feng Yi said with an innocent and obedient face. Hearing this, Feng Jiao smiled and reached out to pinch his face. Is that so? It's the same? But I don't believe you. Quickly go and call Yang over as well. His cheeks hurt from being pinched. Feng Yi took a deep breath and rubbed his cheeks. He pouted and said, I'm your little uncle. How many times have I told you not to pinch my cheeks? Don't pinch my cheeks, but you pinch my cheeks again and again. When I go back, I must tell my father and mother. Feng Jiao chuckled and reached out to flick his forehead. Little fox, it's useless to tell anyone. If I want to pinch you, even your father and mother can't stop me. While speaking, she once again reached out to rub his face. Ah, Feng Yi exclaimed and quickly jumped away. He covered his face with his small hands and looked at Feng Jiao defensively. Why are you still standing there like a fool? Hurry up and call Yang over. You don't want these treasures anymore. She patted the big bag on the table and looked at him with a smile. I'll go right away. As Feng Yi said, he quickly turned around and ran to the small courtyard. He was going to pull Zhao Yang together. After watching her leave, Feng Yi played with the child again. After a while, he heard Feng Ye's voice again. She's coming. Yang is coming. Feng Yi pulled Zhao Yang and hurried back. The two came to her. Feng Ye's eyes were fixed on the big bag on the table, while Zhao Yang called out, Sister Feng, in sit. She motioned for the two to sit at the table and then opened the big bag. After opening it, she saw some small medicine bottles. Each bottle had words written on it. There were also some medicine powder wrapped in paper with words written on it to make it easier to distinguish. Chapter 25:34. Yang, this time I've also prepared the elixirs for you. When you come back from the mansion, I'll send you back to the mountain directly. I won't bring you back here, so you have to remember these things and know how to use them. Feng Jiao explained the use of each elixir as well as its purpose and effect to him as she spoke. Zhao Yang also listened carefully. In the end, after listening to her, he put those things into the space and said, Thank you, Sister Feng. I know. I'll make good use of these elixirs. Well, Yang is so obedient. She smiled and rubbed Zhao Yang's head. When she saw that the little fellow's ears were red and his face was a little uncomfortable, she couldn't help but chuckle and say, Although Feng Yi is smart, he doesn't cultivate as hard as you. Sometimes, you can't let him do whatever he wants when you're by his side. You have to persuade him more, okay? Yes, Yang knows. He nodded and looked at Feng Yi, who was lying on the table and counting the bottles. Feng Jiao followed his gaze and also looked at Feng Yi. She gently pinched his nose and said, These things can only be used for emergencies and critical moments. You have to remember them well. Don't use them unless you have to. You have to listen to Yang. I'm the master. I won't listen to him. Feng Yi snorted softly and reached out to take the elixirs. As he put them into his arms, he said, Moreover, Master also said that Yang's physique is very suitable for cultivation. He will cultivate much faster than me. My strength is not as good as his now, and it is estimated that I won't be as good as him in the future. Hearing this, Feng Jiao touched his head and said softly, Feng Yi, you have to remember that strength is not used to compete with your family. It is used to protect your family and the important people in your life. Now you have to cultivate more while you are still young. When you become stronger in the future, what our family has experienced before will not happen again. Feng Yu is not an ignorant child. When he heard this, his heart moved. He raised his head and glanced at Feng Jiu, then nodded and said, I know, I will definitely cultivate well. Little Jiu, in the future, it'll be my turn to protect you and the family. Okay, she replied with a smile and reached out to hug him. She fiercely kissed him, but in return, Feng Yi cried out shyly, Ah, don't kiss me. Don't kiss me. I'm your little uncle. I'm a man. After he put away the elixirs, he broke free from Feng Jiu's arms and slipped down from her arms. He quickly stepped back and waved to Zhao Yang. Yang, come on. Let's go back. Sister Feng, we're going back. Zhao Yang responded and then left with Feng Yi. What a heartless little fellow. You took so many things from me and left just like that. How heartless. She sighed softly, her tone carrying a hint of a smile. Who's heartless? A voice suddenly came and scared her. Before she turned around, she saw a pair of big hands around her shoulders. I heard that you came back early today, so I put down the things at hand and came back. You scared me. Chapter 25:35. You can leave the rest to the people below. He held her hand and played with it repeatedly. A dark light flashed across his deep eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Feng Jiu saw that he seemed a little absent-minded. She turned her head slightly to look at him and asked, Is there something on your mind? Xin Yuan Mo's met her quiet gaze. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, revealing a smile. Nothing. Seeing that he did not say anything, Feng Jiu did not ask further. She could tell if there was something wrong. However, since he did not say anything, it should be because he did not want her to worry. But what made him so absent-minded? Now that we have nothing to do, I'll take you to see the sunset, Xin Yuan Mo said. He held her hand and stood up. In the next moment, a flying sword appeared under their feet and took her to the sky. Feng Jiu leaned in his arms. The two of them flew against the wind. The light wind blew, and their clothes fluttered. They swept past the city and headed out of the city. The two of them flew on their swords all the way until they arrived at the peak of a relatively high mountain. Only then did they jump off the flying sword. The sunset will not be blocked here. Moreover, it is also very beautiful to see the stars in the night sky from here, Xin Yuan Mo said. He held her hand and led her to a four-legged pavilion in front of them. There's actually a pavilion here? Feng Jiu was a little surprised. Seeing this pavilion on the peak of the mountain, it gave off a feeling of being detached from the world. She looked down the mountain. Not only was there a pavilion here, there were also rest pavilions at regular intervals. Moreover, all the way down, the stairs on a mountain road were very clear. On the stairs, there were groups of 3 to 5 people going up the mountain. There were also some resting in the rest pavilions. The last time I passed by here, I saw that there was a place to enjoy the scenery here, so I wanted to bring you here. He walked into the pavilion and sat down. Then, he took out some wine from his space. Seeing this, Feng Jiu walked up to the table with a smile and sat down. Looks like you came here with a purpose. It's rare that we have the leisure to enjoy the scenery. Naturally, we can't let this good time go to waste. Xin Yuan Mo's helped her pour a glass of wine, then picked up the glass in front of him and took a sip. The two of them looked at the evening sky as the sun slowly set. Perhaps it was because they were on high ground, but the setting sun seemed to be right in front of them. It was as if they could reach out and touch it. Feng Jiu rested her chin on one hand and felt the cool night breeze caressing her face. She watched the setting sun slowly show a dazzling orange color, just like the salted egg yolk in the salted duck egg that made people drool. The speed at which the sun set was very fast, as if it had moved down the mountain in the blink of an eye. As the sun set, the sky gradually darkened. As the sky darkened and night came, the temperature on the mountain peak dropped significantly. The night wind blew, bringing with it a slight chill. The two of them did not speak. They only enjoyed this moment of tranquility and seclusion. Let's wait a little longer. The stars will come out. It should be very close to here to see the stars, Feng Jiu said. He took a sip of wine and looked at him sitting in front of him. He felt that it was very pleasing to the eye. Chapter 25:36. The two of them drank wine and chatted about some interesting things. As the night deepened, they watched the stars twinkling in the night sky. Behind the clouds, the crescent moon also faintly appeared, sprinkling moonlight down. A beautiful scenery of beauty under the moonlight should have been very pleasant and pleasant. However, when a panic cry for help faintly entered the two's ears, the two who were chatting and laughing paused for a moment. They put down the wine cups in their hands and looked down at the pitch-black mountain at the same time. There weren't many people who went up the mountain to watch the sunset. After the sun set, most of them didn't stay on the mountain. Only a few faint lights could be seen in the mountain, as if someone was holding a lamp in their hand. The sobbing cries for help came from the faint light at the foot of the mountain. Why would there be a cry for help in this place so late at night? And it seems to be a woman? Fengjiu said as his gaze fell on the cry for help halfway up the mountain. Let Tunyan take a look, Xinyuan Mose said as he indifferently withdrew his gaze. Yes. Fengjiu nodded and called out, Tunyan. Tunyan leapt out of the space as soon as he said that. He glanced at the two of them before his gaze fell on Fengjiu. Master. Tunyan, there's someone crying for help halfway up the mountain. Go and see what's going on, she softly ordered. Yes, Tunyan replied. His robust figure shot out like a bolt of lightning. With a whoosh, a wind blade flashed past. In the next moment, he disappeared into the pitch-black night sky. The night wind blew past, bringing with it not only a trace of coldness, but also a despairing cry for help halfway up the mountain. She rested her face on one hand and listened to the voice, saying, there are very few people in this remote place, especially at night. If there's really danger, I'm afraid that no one will come to save them even if they cry for help. I really don't know why they would come to such a remote place if they don't even have the ability to protect themselves. Hearing this, Xinyuan Mose chuckled. Perhaps there are men accompanying you. However, not every man has my strength, and not every woman is like you. Fengjiu chuckled. That's true. As the two of them spoke, they heard that the cries had not stopped. They could not help but feel puzzled. At this distance, Tunyan should have arrived. Why is that woman still crying for help? Xinyuan Mose took a deep breath and glanced around. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. Perhaps the devouring cloud felt that it was beyond saving. Fengjiu turned her head and saw Tunyan darting out of the dense forest. It didn't take long for him to arrive in front of her. She looked at him strangely and asked, Tunyan, why are you back? Could it be that they haven't found the person who called for help? Swallow Cloud was stunned for a moment, and then he said, Master, I've found it. But didn't you ask me to go take a look? So I went to see what was going on and came back to tell you. Hearing this, Fengjiu was also stunned. It was as if she had not expected him to misunderstand. After a long while, she recovered her senses. She looked at him with a strange expression and asked, Then what did you see? What's the situation? Xinyuan Mose, who was sitting to the side, smiled when he saw this. He didn't pay any attention to the man and beast and continued to pour wine for himself. Chapter 25:37. The corner of Fengjiu's mouth twitched. Hearing the screams, he waved his hand and said, Go. Quickly save that woman first. Yes, Tunyan said and scurried back. Watching Tunyan leave, Fengjiu could not help but hold his forehead and sigh. This is the first time I've seen Tunyan understand my words like this. Also, there are rogue cultivators in this kind of place. This is really unexpected. This is how the world is. Demonic cultivators are not the only demons who kill without batting an eyelid. Even righteous cultivators have times when they are tempted by women and wealth. Xinyuan Mose spoke slowly. When he heard the cries for help stop, followed by a few shrill screams, he knew that Tunyan had saved the woman. He poured a cup of wine for her and said, That woman should be glad that she met you here tonight. Not long after, Tunyan arrived at the pavilion with the unconscious woman in his mouth. He tossed the woman in front of Fengjiu. Master, there's a man too. I'll go get him as well. With that, Tunyan left again. Fengjiu's mouth twitched. Looking at the unconscious woman lying on the ground with her clothes disheveled, She glanced at Xianyuan Mose across the table. Unexpectedly, he was looking straight ahead at the starry night sky. He did not even glance at the woman. She stood up and walked forward to check on the woman. She saw that Tunyon had already come over with another man in its mouth. The man's face was pale with fright. His limbs were flailing about, but could not touch the ground. The clothes on his back were in Tunyon's mouth. "Master, the other one is here too." After Tunyon threw the man down, it squatted outside the pavilion and lay down. Its eyes were fixed on Fengjiu and the Yama lord in the pavilion. Fengjiu came to the woman's side and squatted down. He said to the man who was standing there in a daze, "Take off your coat and put it on her." "Yes, yes." The man stared at them fearfully, as well as the Tunyon lying outside the pavilion. With trembling hands, he took off his coat and handed it to Fengjiu, who was squatting in front of the unconscious woman to check on her injuries. Just as Fengjiu was about to hand over his coat, the man's expression suddenly changed. His eyes flashed with murderous intent as he drew a dagger from his sleeve and stabbed it towards Fengjiu's dantian at lightning speed. Almost at the same time, Fengjiu raised his hand and struck out with his palm. However, the unconscious woman suddenly jumped up and stabbed her sharp dagger towards Fengjiu's dantian. Hiss! No matter how fast Fengjiu reacted, she did not expect these two to attack her. Moreover, they were so fast that even Tunyon and Xianyuan Mose could not stop them in time. "Master, Agio!" Swallowing Cloud pounced forward, revealing a ferocious expression as he lunged forward to bite the man. However, in the next instant, the man released his aura. He was actually a peak celestial sage expert. When the woman was about to attack again with her dagger, Fengjiu was already protected in Xianyuan Mose's arms. At this moment, his face was gloomy. He raised his hand and struck out with his palm. The sharp wind from his palm carried a murderous aura and sent the woman flying dozens of meters away. Chapter 2538. Fengjiu, you'd better hand over the things that don't belong to you. Otherwise, this will never end. As soon as his voice fell, the figure suddenly retreated as if he was about to escape. However, how could Xianyuan Mose let the man who injured Fengjiu leave alive? Trying to escape? Leave your life behind. A cold voice came from Xianyuan Mose's mouth. He ordered Fengjiu to stand in the pavilion as he prepared to kill the man. However, just as he chased after the man for a few dozen meters, he suddenly saw the man's lips curl into a sinister smile. His heart sank as he cursed inwardly. He quickly turned around and saw a dozen men in black rushing out of the pavilion. The strength of these men in black was at the peak of the immortal sage realm. Among them, there was actually an immortal emperor realm expert. When he saw this scene, his heart was filled with rage. He suddenly flashed and reached out his hand to grab the neck of the man who was trying to escape, lifting him up. "Breaking your neck would be too easy for you." A cold and bloodthirsty voice sounded. He exerted force in his hand and broke the man's neck with a crack. In the next moment, he threw the man away with his palm, striking out a stream of air. Bang! With a loud bang, the body of the man who was thrown away exploded in mid-air, leaving behind a mess of flesh and blood. He didn't stay for a moment. Instead, he quickly rushed back to the pavilion to help. However, when he approached the pavilion, he saw that the pavilion was emitting a light visible to the naked eye. The light formed a sword formation to protect the pavilion, preventing anyone from leaving or approaching it. Damn it! When he saw the dozen men in the pavilion attacking Fengjiu alone and the wounds on Fengjiu's body, he couldn't help but release his evil aura. A powerful stream of air surged from his hands and formed a huge dragon. It opened its mouth and pounced on the sword formation in the pavilion. The two powerful streams of air and pressure collided with each other, shooting a sharp stream of air into the sky. Bang! Boom! The stream of air rushed into the sky and shattered the sword formation. At the same time, it also destroyed the pavilion. When the sword formation was destroyed, Xianyuan Mose quickly rushed to Fengjiu's side and blocked the attacks for her. When a stream of air rushed into the sky with a loud bang, Some of the stronger people felt the powerful pressure and stream of air that belonged to a super expert. They couldn't help but jump onto the roof to see where the sound came from. A few old men stood together and discussed. Strange, after the demons were defeated by the ghost Dr. Fengjiu and the Yama Lord, they shouldn't be active again in such a short period of time. So, where did this commotion come from? The aura and pressure from the explosion were extremely powerful. It seems that the person's strength is not lower than that of an immortal emperor. However, there are only a few immortal emperors on this continent. That's right. How to test, T? Judging from the direction of the commotion, it seems to have come from the tallest mountain nearby. When they heard this, they looked at each other and rushed in that direction. Chapter 25:39. He did not hesitate to follow. His white figure was very dazzling in the night. Du Fan and the others also quickly noticed his arrival. Young Master Mo Chun. Du Fan called out. Mo Chun's figure flashed and arrived beside him. He asked what happened. We don't know either. When we first saw the commotion, the people in the manor also saw it. They said that the Yama Lord and Master went out in the evening and have yet to return. Now that we saw the commotion, we were afraid that something had happened to Master, so we hurried over to take a look. That's the aura of a celestial emperor. It should be Fengjiu and the others. As Mo Chun spoke, he glanced at the Phoenix Guards and Du Fan. He said, "Don't go over. It's a celestial emperor. If you go over, not only will you not be able to help, you'll also be a burden to her." Hearing this, Du Fan's face was filled with anxiety. The Phoenix Guards in front also stopped. "But we're worried that Master and the others. Since you're worried, then go back to the Feng Manor and wait. Although I don't know why they're in danger, you can't help them there. The people in the manor can protect them well in case of a sneak attack from the new people." Mo Chun spoke in a low voice. There was a rare seriousness on his face. "Listen to me. Go back and protect the manor. I'll be there for them." Hearing this, Du Fan thought for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, then I'll bring them back." He gestured for the Phoenix Guards to stand behind him. "Young Master Mo Chun, be careful." "Okay." Mo Chun nodded. He immediately rode his sword in that direction. "Is it really okay if we don't go and take a look? If something really happened to Master, wouldn't that be?" What young Master Mo Chun says makes sense. Since it's a celestial emperor, we won't be able to help even if we go over. Let's go back now. You guys stay at the Heaven Returning Pill House and stand guard. The rest of you, follow me back to the Feng Manor and tell Guanxilin about the situation, Du Fan said. As soon as he finished speaking, he was already tens of meters away. In the Feng Manor, Guanxilin and the others were originally playing with little Hao in the courtyard, but who knew that they would see the scene in the sky far away. They watched from the roof until they saw Du Fan return with people. They could not help but be stunned. "Why are you back? Didn't he say that he was going to check it out? What was going on over there? Is it related to Xiao, Jio, and Mose?" Guanxilin quickly stepped forward and asked. "Let's talk downstairs," Du Fan said, pulling him down to the bottom of the courtyard. Lung Hua, Lung Shuang, and the others all gathered around to look at him. Even the hidden guards in the manor cocked their ears to listen. "I was going to go over, but I met young Master Mo Chun on the way. He said that the people fighting over there were at least celestial emperors. He said that it should be Master and Yama Lord. They might have met a strong opponent. He told us to come back first and guard the manor. He said that even if we went, we wouldn't be able to get close. Celestial emperors." Guanxilin frowned. His expression turned cold. Why would another celestial emperor appear? Little Nine is already at the immortal emperor level, so Moze is definitely above this level. Then, other than them, as far as I know, aren't the only ones on this continent who have the strength of an immortal emperor level. Chapter 25:40. Du Fan shook his head. "I don't know either. Right now, we can only wait for them to return to find out what's going on." Everyone looked at each other and knew that there was no point in being anxious. They could only wait here. However, waiting was always the most difficult thing to endure. As they waited, they felt as if time had stopped. They were looking forward to their return, but there was no sign of them. On the other side, The dozen or so cultivators attacking Xianyuan Mo's and Fengjiu were unable to get close to them due to the pressure they released. As a result, the dozen or so cultivators focused on attacking Tun Yun, and each of their attacks was fatal, causing Tun Yun to be covered in wounds. The Celestial Emperor powerhouse was dealing with Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's. However, he couldn't hurt them at all when the two of them joined forces. Thus, he chose to retreat after being unable to win for a long time. Retreat. With the order to retreat, the cultivators wanted to retreat. However, Xianyuan Mo's was unwilling to let them go. He stared coldly at the figure who suddenly retreated more than 10 meters into the air. His killing intent was awe-inspiring. Azure Dragon. With a call, his body suddenly emitted a dazzling light. The Azure Dragon, an ancient divine beast, rushed out from his body. The enormous Azure Dragon, covered in azure scales, swayed its tail and let out a dragon's roar towards the sky. The moment the dragon's roar sounded, the sky was instantly filled with the ancient pressure of the dragon's roar. The cultivators who were about to escape stopped in mid-air, as if they were held in place by something. When the immortal Emperor expert saw this, he immediately turned to flee. However, no matter how fast he could not outrun the Azure Dragon that flew out at the speed of light. Roar! A dragon's roar came out from the Azure Dragon's mouth. Its figure turned into a ray of azure light in midair and attacked the immortal Emperor expert with a swoosh. The aura of death rushed towards him, causing the immortal Emperor's expression to change drastically. His heart skipped a beat. He instinctively turned back to look, but he only had time to see the Azure Dragon turn into a ray of azure light and attack him. He didn't have the time to dodge, nor did he have the time to dodge. The powerful and fierce airflow that accompanied the Azure Dragon let him know that once he was hit, he would die without a doubt. As a result, the moment the Azure Dragon arrived, he abandoned his physical body and used his nascent soul to escape. The nascent soul flew out like a meteor into the distance. It was so fast that it caught people off guard. Just you wait. I will definitely come back. That sinister and unwilling voice came from afar, echoing in the sky for a long time. Bang! At the same time, the immortal Emperor's body was penetrated by the azure light. With a loud bang, the immortal Emperor's body shattered into pieces. His flesh and blood splattered in the air and sprinkled down, disappearing into the pitch-black night. Swish! The Azure Dragon turned in the air and once again turned into a streak of azure light. With a whoosh, it pierced through the cultivators who were frozen in the air. These cultivators were unable to summon their nascent souls and could only watch helplessly as they were killed by the powerful ancient divine beast. Miserable screams rang out in the night sky. In the end, everything returned to normal. In the night sky, the crescent moon hung between the clouds, faintly discernible, and emitted a soft light. Chapter 25:41. With a whoosh, the Azure Dragon returned to Xianyuan Mo's body. With its disappearance, the powerful ancient pressure in the air also disappeared. Mo-chan saw the scene in the sky from afar. Seeing Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's standing side by side at the peak of the mountain, he immediately flew over on his sword. When he saw that not only was Tun Yun injured, but even Fengjiu was injured, his eyes narrowed. Who injured you? We'll talk when we get back. Once Fengjiu spoke, Xianyuan Mo's hugged her and flew back on his sword. Mo-chan glanced at the injured Tun Yun and brought it along, following behind Fengjiu and the others as they left. Inside the Feng Manor, Guanxilin and the others became more and more anxious as they waited. They stood on the roof and looked into the distance. They walked back and forth on the roof as if time was slow. It was only when he saw a few figures in the distance approaching that he shouted, "They're back! They're back!" Xianyuan Mo's was wearing a black robe, which was not very conspicuous in the night. Thus, others could not see if he was injured or not. However, Fengjiu was wearing a red dress. Although the red dress was stained with blood and the color of the blood could not be seen, the cut on the dress was visible to everyone. Xiao Jiu is injured. Guanxilin's heart jumped. Seeing them enter the courtyard, he quickly jumped down from the roof and quickly arrived in front of them. Seeing that Feng Jiu was covered in wounds, he quickly turned around and called, "A Qing, quickly, help Xiao Jiu take care of her wounds." Yi Qing also quickly walked over and supported Feng Jiu, saying, "I'll help you take care of your wounds first." Before Feng Jiu could speak, Xianyuan Mo said, "No need, I'll do it." With that, he brought her into the room. Seeing the two of them enter the room, Guan Shilin asked, "Mo Chun, do you know who attacked them? How did Xiao Jiu get injured like that?" With her immortal emperor cultivation, how could she be injured? Could it be that the attacker was stronger than her? Everyone's gaze fell on Mo Chun. They did not go, so they did not know the situation, but Mo Chun should know more or less. By the time I arrived, those people had already been killed by Mo's. I only know that those people were very strong. One of them was an immortal emperor. He paused and thought, "I'm guessing that those people are not from the upper continents." Not from the upper continent, Moses' voice was strange. If they were not from the upper continents, then where did they come from? Although the great roaming continent occupies a large area, everyone knows how many immortal emperors there are. What's more, in addition to more than 10 immortal sage cultivators, there was also an immortal emperor who attacked them tonight. This shows that the force that attacked them is extremely powerful. Hearing this, everyone gasped. More than 10 immortal sage cultivators? It was already unbelievable that there was an immortal emperor, but there were more than 10 immortal sages. Chapter 2542. Lung Hua listened to Mo Chun as he applied medicine on Tun Yun's wounds. He paused for a moment and asked, "Since they're not from the upper reaches, who could they be? Could they be from overseas? But Master has never been to those places, so how could she have offended them? Why would those people want to kill her?" Guan Shilin was deep in thought. His gaze involuntarily fell on little Hao who was in the cradle. He said hesitantly, "Xiao Jiu once said that little Hao-er's background is mysterious and not simple. Could those people be after little Hao-er?" Everyone fell silent when they heard this. Logically speaking, Feng Jiu had been building up his power in the upper reaches ever since he arrived and did not have any enmity with anyone from other regions. Why would they send a dozen celestial sage experts and an immortal emperor to kill her? Could it be that the child she adopted really caused this disaster? Mo Chun did not say anything. He only looked at the child in the cradle. They did not know if it was as they had guessed. However, he felt that even if they did not know, Feng Jiu would know. Lung Hua brought some water into the room and left at Xianyuan Mo's signal. "Let me help you take off your clothes first." As Xianyuan Mo spoke, he looked at the dark red color on her red clothes and couldn't help but frown slightly. His hands carefully helped her take off her clothes, trying his best not to pull on the wounds on her body. Feng Jiu responded and cooperated by taking off her clothes, leaving only her innermost dudu to cover her body. However, even though there was boundless spring scenery in front of him right now, Xianyuan Mo's didn't have the heart to admire it. His gaze landed on the wounds on her body, and when he saw that some of the wounds were flipped open and seemed to be very deep, a sinister and cold glint flashed across his deep, dark eyes. The person he cherished was injured to this extent right under his nose. It would not be enough even if those people died 100 times. Can't the green lotus in your body heal your wounds? Try to use the power of the green lotus to heal your wounds first. He suppressed the murderous intent in his heart and spoke slowly to her. Feng Jiu was thinking about something. After hearing his words, she responded, "Okay." She closed her eyes and placed her hands in front of her dantian. She mobilized the green lotus aura in her body and used the recovery power of the green lotus to heal her wounds. However, as time passed, sweat beaded on her forehead and her face became increasingly pale. However, the wounds on her body did not show any signs of healing. Xianyuan Mo's heart sank as he watched from the side. He faintly sensed something. At this moment, Feng Jiu opened her eyes and dispersed the aura of the green lotus around her body. After taking a deep breath, she raised her head and looked at him. Her clear eyes met his deep black eyes. "I can't repair them." The aura of the green lotus and the aura of every wound on my body repel each other like magnets, so I can't repair them. As she said this, her heart also calmed down, and her original guess was confirmed at this moment. Those people came for the chaotic green lotus in your body. Xin Yuan Mo spoke in a low voice as he took out medicine to clean her wounds. Then, he applied the medicine she had specially made for knife wounds. He took out a strip of cloth and carefully bandaged every wound with the medicine. Chapter 25:43. Only a few people know that I have the primal chaos lotus in my body. I also believe that these people would not tell anyone else about it. Furthermore, these people are clearly not from the upper reaches, yet they know that I have the primal chaos lotus. Then, a thought surfaced in her mind, but she was unwilling to believe her own guess. Xin Yuan Mose glanced at her. His deep voice was solemn as he said, "If these people did not know about it, then it's very likely that someone fell into their hands and found out about the primal chaos lotus whereabouts." He paused and asked, "Aside from me, who else knows that you have the primal chaos lotus?" "Elder Hun Yuan and Zhuo Junwei." She paused, and her eyes flashed. "There's another person. It's the mysterious old man who gave me the primal chaos lotus back then. Elder Hun Yuan risked his life to protect you, and he's currently recuperating in the Nebula Immortal Sect. Naturally, it can't be him. As for Zhuo Junwei," he paused and looked at her. "Zhuo Junwei has always been in the Feng Manor. Also, I believe that he's not someone who would betray me," Feng Jiu slowly said. She lowered her head and touched the wound on her dantian with her finger. "Those people wanted to dig out the primal chaos lotus from my body." As she said this, her lips curled slightly, and a cold light appeared in her eyes. "Since that old man gave me the primal chaos lotus back then, he would not have told those people that the primal chaos lotus was in my body. Even if he died, he would not have told them." Her eyes were gloomy, and her expression was cold. "However, since those people were able to find me and know that the primal chaos lotus is in my body, they must have found out about it. As such, I'm guessing that the old man who swept the floor back then probably died in their hands." "Soul-searching technique," Xin Yuan Mose slowly said. He looked at her and said, "They must have used the soul-searching technique to find out about it." The two of them guessed and analyzed the situation. However, they did not know that the situation was roughly as they had guessed. Back then, the mysterious old man who swept the floor of the Peach Blossom Cove had fallen into the hands of those people. Those people used a soul-searching technique to find out the whereabouts of the chaotic green lotus, and from there, they found Feng Jiu. This injury is very strange. The power of the green lotus can't heal it. Feng Jiu's gaze fell on the injury on his body, and he frowned. "It seems that they came prepared. I will get the people from Yin Dian to investigate and find out the origins of these people," Xin Yuan Mose said as he turned and went into the suitcase to help her take out another set of clothes. "Put on your clothes first." "Yes," she responded and put on her clothes with his help. However, when she tugged at the wound on her body, a slight pain came from the wound. "You lie on the bed." Xin Yuan Mose didn't let her go out, but helped her to lie on the bed in the inner room. "Tell them not to worry too much." Xin Yuan Mose nodded, then walked out of the room and opened the door. When the people who were waiting in the courtyard saw the door open, they hurried forward. "How is it? Is the wound serious?" Xin Yuan Mose turned slightly to the side to let them in. "It's already been bandaged. Now lying on the bed to rest, there shouldn't be any major problems. Don't worry." Chapter 25:44. "We're not sure yet," Xin Yuan Mose said as he walked in. Guanxilin and the others quickly walked into the room and saw Feng Jiu lying on the bed with a pale face. They couldn't help but worry. "Xiao Jiu, are your wounds serious? Why are you so pale?" "I'm fine. They're just superficial wounds. I'll be fine after some rest." She smiled and comforted them, telling them not to worry. Emotion walked up and saw that she didn't look too well. He came to the bedside and said, "Give me your hand. I'll take a look." Feng Jiu chuckled. Have you forgotten that I'm also a doctor? I know my own body. It's not a problem. Hearing this, Imo Chen didn't speak again. He just stared deeply at her for a moment, then looked away. We were just discussing outside. We wondered if the people who suddenly attacked you were after Hauer. Guan Shilin said as he looked at Fengjiu's expression. She was slightly stunned, then shook her head and smiled. No, it's someone else. And I'm afraid that they won't be easy to deal with. Judging from the strength of those people, this was definitely just a test. If it was an attack, the next ones would definitely be stronger. There were always people who attacked her. She wasn't afraid of the enemy's strength, but she didn't expect this to happen when she decided to bring Feng Yi back. Facing such a strong opponent again, she was a little worried. She was worried that it would implicate her family, that it already happened once, and she didn't want it to happen again. But why did you two go to that place? I heard from Imo Chan that it's quite a distance from here, and it's the highest mountain in this area. Logically speaking, with your strength and Xianyuan by your side, you shouldn't have been injured. Guan Shilin was a little puzzled. He also didn't understand this. With Xianyuan Mo's protection and her strength, how could anyone hurt her? Feng Jiu smiled when he heard that. I heard that the scenery there was pretty good, so I went there. However, I didn't expect that the people devouring clouds saved were the accomplices of those people. They approached us with ulterior motives. Those two injured me when I wasn't paying attention, so the only serious injury on my body is this wound in my dantian. Seeing that she was still smiling, Guan Shilin couldn't help but frown. How can you still smile when you're injured like this? Why did you save those people? I had a moment of kindness, thinking that it would be a piece of cake. However, I didn't expect to save a wolf instead of a sheep. She didn't really care. Even if you had to do it again, she would still let Tunyon take a look. After all, if it was really a weak woman who encountered such a thing, the outcome could be imagined. Although she was cold-hearted, she was not heartless. Under the premise that her strength allowed her to do so, she naturally would not leave him in the lurch. With her strength, cultivation, and status, if she left him in the lurch, what was the difference between her and those evil cultivators who didn't care about human lives? You all go back and rest. I'm a little tired. I want to sleep for a while. She said softly and told them to go back and rest. Seeing the tiredness between her eyebrows, they nodded, told her to rest well and recuperate from her wounds, and left first. However, after Guan Shilin and the others left, Imo Chun still stood there without moving. Feng Jiu was slightly surprised and looked at him. Is there anything else? Chapter 2545. Yes, it's different from before, but I've already applied medicine, so it should be fine. She spoke slowly. She didn't feel anything when she didn't mention the wound, but when she did, she felt a burning sensation. Was the wound infected? That's impossible, right? She was lost in her thoughts, forgetting that Imo Chan was still standing by the bed. Seeing her expression, Imo Chan glanced at Xianyuan Mo's and asked, "Have you seen the wound? Is there anything strange?" Xianyuan Mo's heart skipped a beat. He glanced at Feng Jiu and said to Imo Chan, "Her body is different from ordinary people. It has the ability to heal itself. But this time, the wound didn't heal." He paused, then continued, "I've already applied medicine. Let's wait and see tomorrow. We'll know when I change the dressing tomorrow." Hearing both of them say this, Imo Chun didn't say anything else. He just nodded. "Then I'll go back first. I'll come back tomorrow to see her." He turned to Feng Jiu, who seemed to be thinking about something, and said gently, "Have a good rest. I'll come and see you tomorrow." "Yes." Feng Jiu came back to her senses and responded. He turned and walked out. "You sleep first. I'll go out and tell them." As Xianyuan Mo spoke, he went outside and instructed Ing Yi to get his subordinates to investigate this matter. When he returned to the room, he saw that she had already fallen asleep, so he went to take a bath first. After changing out of his blood-stained robes, he returned to the room, took off his outer robes, and lay down beside her. After midnight, the sky gradually darkened. Xianyuan Mo suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Feng Jiu in his arms. "Ajio? Ajio? What's wrong?" The room was not lit by candles, but by a luminous pearl. The The light was soft and not dazzling. At this time, under the soft light of the luminous pearl, he saw that Fengjiu's forehead was sweating. Her face was red, but her lips were pale. He quickly got up, put on his coat, and called out, "Ing-yi, go get Imo-chun." When Ing-yi, who was guarding outside, heard this, he immediately responded, "Yes." His figure flashed and quickly went to Nail Mansion. In another courtyard of the estate, Tun Yin seemed to be in discomfort. It rolled around on the ground and roared, waking everyone in the estate. Lung Hua, Du Fan, and the others rushed over and saw it rolling on the ground and howling. They hurriedly asked, "Tun Yin, what happened to you?" The wound hurts." It lay on the ground, motionless, as if it had lost all its strength. Even its eyes were closed, and it groaned from time to time. Their hearts sank when they saw Tun Yin in such a state. Fan Lin, one of the 8 leaders of the Phoenix Guards, quickly walked over and examined Tun Yin. When he opened Tun Yin's wounds and saw that they were suffused with a black aura, he could not help but be alarmed. How could this be? His expression changed greatly, as if he had thought of something. He immediately looked at Lung Hua and the others. "You guys stay here and look after Tun Yin. I'll go check on Master." Master was also injured. Would it be like Tun Yin? The wound was suffused with a black aura. Is it poison? Lung Hua asked worriedly as he followed him to the main courtyard. "It doesn't look like poison," Fan Lin said as he quickened his pace. Chapter 2546. After putting on his outer robe and preparing to take action, he heard a familiar voice. "Young Master Mo Chun, I am Ing-yi. My master is asking you to come over immediately." Ing-yi jumped off the roof and landed outside his room. He lowered his voice and called out. Hearing this, Imo-chan slightly wrinkled his brow. He flicked his finger to light the room and put on his clothes. He tied up his hair and walked out. Opening the door, he saw that the person outside was indeed Ing-yi. "What happened?" he asked as he gathered his energy and jumped onto the roof towards the Feng Manor. Ing-yi followed closely behind him and said, "It seems that something happened to the ghost doctor. As for the specifics, I'm not sure." In the Feng Manor, in the main courtyard, in a side room, Xinyuan Mose opened up a wound on Fengjiu's body to examine it. When he saw that the wound that had already been treated had not healed and was instead slightly swollen and emitting a black aura, his heart sank. His handsome face was cold and his lips were tightly pursed. Looking at Fengjiu, who was already unconscious from the heat, he got up and went outside to get a basin of water. He used a small handkerchief to wipe away the sweat on her forehead. He then soaked it in cold water and placed it on her forehead to cool it down. The sound of footsteps came from outside. Immediately after, Guan Shilin's worried voice could be heard. "Xinyuan, how is Xiao Jiu? Is it serious? Swallowing cloud situation isn't too good. How is Xiao Jiu right now? Come in." Xinyuan Mose's voice came from outside. The people outside followed Guan Shilin inside. In an instant, the room was filled with people. The 8 leaders of the Feng Guards, as well as Lung Hua, Du Fan, Guan Shilin, and Yi Qing, filled the room with more than 10 people. On the bed, Fengjiu's body was covered with blankets. A cold towel was placed on her forehead. Her face was red from the heat, but her lips were pale. With so many people coming in, she did not open her eyes. Her eyebrows were slightly furrowed, and her expression carried a bit of pain. "Let me take a look." Fan Lin, who was knowledgeable in medicine, stepped forward to take Fengjiu's pulse and check her wounds. After a while, he said to Xinyuan Mose with a serious expression, "Just like Hung Yun, there are no signs of poisoning, but the wounds are slightly swollen and there's a black aura permeating the wounds. My knowledge is shallow, and I don't know where this black aura comes from, so I can't treat the symptoms. Looks like it's because of the black qi on the wound." Guan Shilin said, "In the past, even if Xiao Jiu was injured, he could recover quickly. This is the first time I've encountered a situation like this. Then what should we do? If we don't treat her, wouldn't it be?" Yi Qing was a little worried. If Fengjiu was awake, it would be fine, but now that she had clearly lost consciousness, Wouldn't it be even more serious if they continue to waste time? Mo Chun follows the Elder of Heavenly Secrets and is skilled in medicine. I've already sent Ying Yi to invite him over. As Xianyuan Mo spoke, his gaze fell on Fengjiu's face on the bed. Seeing that her brows were furrowed and she was not sleeping peacefully, he took the cold towel and soaked it in cold water, then placed it on her forehead. Lung Hua saw this and came forward to take the water away, then replaced it with a basin of water. Seeing her master like this, she didn't know how to help, so she could only quietly stand to the side. Master, young Master Mo Chun has come. Ying Yi's voice came from the door. Everyone in the room looked towards the door and saw Mo Chun stride in. Chapter 25:47. The wound has worsened, and there's a black aura floating about. Come take a look, Xianyuan Mo said, gesturing for him to come forward. Mo Chan came to the bedside and saw that Fengjiu was already unconscious, but he was not sleeping peacefully. His face was red and sweaty, and his lips were pale and colorless. He immediately went forward to check the wound, and sure enough, the wound was slightly swollen, and there was a black aura floating about. Are all the wounds on his body the same? He looked at Xianyuan Mo's and asked. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mo said, I opened 2 wounds, and they are all the same. Mo Chan helped Fengjiu feel his pulse. When his fingers touched his pulse, he frowned and turned to look at the others, saying, You all can leave first. Seeing this, Guanxilin and the others left first, allowing him to calm down and treat Fengjiu. However, seeing that Fengjiu's condition had not stabilized, they felt uneasy. The Fire Phoenix and Lao Bai, who were guarding the Heavenly Pill Building, seemed to have sensed something. After asking the people of the Heavenly Pill Building, they quickly rushed back to the Feng Manor. When they entered the Feng Manor, they saw that everyone was standing in the main courtyard, pacing back and forth, looking at the rooms from time to time. The 2 beasts quickly went forward. Did something happen? Where's my master? Lao Bai asked. He wanted to go into the room, but he was stopped by Guanxilin. The Fire Phoenix next to him stared at the closed door of the room. It flapped its wings and landed on the table. No one knew what it was thinking. She is injured, and her condition is not good. Don't go in first. Mo Chun and Xianyuan are inside. Guanxilin said. Fan Lin and the others said, Tun Yun's condition is similar to Fengjiu's. Think of a way to send it here. Okay. The 8 leaders of the Phoenix Guards responded and turned to leave. The Fire Phoenix saw that it could not enter the room, so it followed the 8 Phoenix Guards to see Tun Yun. Lao Bai saw this and quickly followed. In the room, Mo Chun looked at Xianyuan Mo's and said, She has the aura of the Primal Chaos Lotus in her body. The Primal Chaos Lotus should be in her body. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mo's did not say anything and only responded, Yes. He also felt it just now. It seemed that because her wounds had worsened, the green lotus in her body automatically emitted the green lotus chi. However, that chi was very weak, and ordinary people would not be able to detect it. If I'm not wrong, the person who attacked you tonight should be aiming for the primal chaos green lotus in her body. Mo Chan sighed softly and said, Furthermore, her enemies are very strong. The black lotus of destruction is in their hands. The black chi on her wound is not poisonous, but the chi of the black lotus of destruction. Xianyuan Mo's deep black eyes flashed, and he asked, Do you have a way to remove the black aura from her wounds? As long as the aura was removed, the primal chaos lotus in her body would repair itself, and it would be much easier to heal her wounds. Mo Chun smiled and warmly said, What you should be thankful for is that the people you met tonight are not the one with the black lotus of destruction. The aura of the black lotus of destruction in their weapons is limited, so the situation won't be too serious. He paused and said to Xianyuan Mo's, Help her up. I will use my power to remove the aura of the primal chaos lotus. Chapter 25:48. Mo Chun, who was standing by the bed, began to circulate his technique. His body emitted a white light, and the aura formed by the light flowed into his palms. He pressed his palms together and pressed his palms against Fengjiu's back, sending the aura into her body. If someone could see through things, they would see that the white aura that Mo Chun had sent into Fengjiu's meridians flowed slowly and dispersed in all directions. The black aura that was resisting the green lotus aura in Fengjiu's body was gradually forced to flow through his meridians under the influence of the white aura. As time passed, Xinyuan Mo's saw a black aura faintly diffuse from the bandages on Fengjiu's body. The black aura seeped into the clothes, rose from the wound, and disappeared into the air. As the wisps of black aura dissipated, Fengjiu, whose body was originally hot and face flushed red with sweat, gradually recovered. However, her face was faintly pale. Mo Chen's forehead was also sweating. Because he had been circulating his technique, his aura was weak. After a long while, he cleared the black aura from Fengjiu's body. Then, he retracted his aura and exhaled. The green lotus in her body is circulating on its own. Don't worry, she'll be fine soon, Mo Chun said slowly. Looking at the faint green aura on Fengjiu's body, he said, I'll go take a look at Swallow the Cloud. Fengjiu is already like this. It's probably the same. You just cleared the black aura from her body. If you use it again, it might be too much for her, Xinyuan Mo said. There's no other way. This technique was passed down to me by my master. Other than me, no one else can clear the black aura from the black lotus of destruction, he said with a smile. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and turned to leave. As Xinyuan Mo's watched him turn around and walk out, he said, Thank you. Hearing this, Mo Chan turned to look at him in surprise and smiled. You don't have to thank me. This is what I should do. All right, take good care of her. It's best if you remove all the bandages on her body. Okay, Xinyuan Mo's replied. Seeing him leave, he called out, Lung Shuang, come in. When the people outside saw Mo Chun come out, they quickly surrounded him and asked, How is she? How is she? Don't worry, she should be fine, he said, looking at Swallow the Cloud, who was lying on the ground. Lung Shuang, Yama Lord. When she came to the inner room, her gaze naturally fell on her master, Fengjiu. She wanted to see how she was doing. Go get a basin of hot water, Xinyuan Mo's ordered as he took off Fengjiu's clothes and removed all the bandages on her wounds. When he saw that the black aura on the wounds had disappeared and was replaced by a faint green aura, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, Lung Shuang answered and hurriedly went out again. Not long after, she brought a bucket of hot water from the kitchen. Then she put some in a basin and sent it to the bed. Chapter 2549. Lung Shuang retreated, closed the door, and relayed Xinyuan Mo's words to the others. Outside, Mo Chun was treating Fengyun's injuries. Inside the room, Xinyuan Mo's cleaned Fengjiu's wounds. Seeing that they were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye under the chi of the green lotus, he took an inner garment and put it on her. The deeper wounds healed more slowly, while the shallower ones healed slowly. However, thinking of Mo Chen's words just now, he did not feel relaxed. The black lotus of destruction? That black lotus of destruction could not even suppress the green lotus? Tonight, these people were not the ones with the black lotus. Then, if one day they met the one with the black lotus, what would happen? Water. In a daze, Fengjiu felt that her mouth was a little dry. She wanted to open her eyes, but her eyelids were very heavy. She did not even have the strength to open them. Hearing her call for water, Xinyuan Mo's got out of bed and poured a cup of water for her. He brought it to her lips and said, Jiu, here's the water. Drink some. He did not know whether she heard him or not. Fengjiu opened her mouth slightly and drank the water. After drinking the cup of water, she fell into a deep sleep. Because he was worried about the deep wound in her dantian, he did not dare to sleep. He sat by the bed and watched over her. From time to time, he checked whether the heat in her body had dissipated. From time to time, he looked at the wound in her dantian to see if it had healed. Throughout the night, he did not rest. It was not until the next morning when the first ray of sunlight shone through the window that he sat by the bedside and touched the short and prickly beard that had grown on his chin. Then he got up and went to wash up. After washing up, he returned to the bedside to check on Fengjiu again. Seeing that she had recovered in all aspects, and even the wound on her dantian had disappeared under the healing energy of the green lotus, he revealed a smile. He walked out and saw Lung Shuang waiting outside. He asked, "How's the cloud-swallowing technique? After Mo. Chun treated him last night, we bandaged Tunyun's wound. This morning, I took a look at it. The redness and swelling on the wound has disappeared, and it has returned to normal. However, it will take at least 2 or 3 days for the wound to recover." Hearing this, Xin Yuanmo's nodded and instructed, "Go and get the kitchen to prepare some food and send it over." "Yes," Lung Shuang responded, but he didn't move. Instead, he asked, "Yamalor, my master, she's fine now. She just hasn't woken up yet," Xin Yuanmo said as he walked inside. Hearing his words, Lung Shuang felt relieved. She was about to walk quickly to the side room and tell her what her master liked to eat. However, at this time, Xin Yuanmo's called again. "Wait, Yama Lord, is there anything else?" Lung Shuang turned around and asked. "Other than some plain porridge, tell the kitchen to prepare some nourishing food." "Yes," Lung Shuang responded and left quickly. Fengjiu woke up at the end of the morning. She didn't know what happened after she fell asleep last night. Therefore, when she woke up, she lifted her clothes and saw that her wound had recovered. Moreover, there were no bandages on her wound. She couldn't help but be startled. "It's all healed?" Chapter 2550. Fengjiu looked at her wounds and said, "Why did I feel like my wounds worsened last night?" She looked strangely at the wounds that had already healed and asked, "Why did they suddenly heal? Last night, your wounds really did worsen. I had an call Mo. Chin over. He helped you remove the black aura of the Black Lotus of Destruction from your wounds." Black Lotus of Destruction? She was startled and could not help but look up at him. "That's right, the Black Lotus of Destruction." Xin Yuanmo's deep gaze fell on her body and said, "Last night, your wounds worsened. Every wound was filled with a black aura. You also lost consciousness. Mo Chun saw you later and said that the aura of the Black Lotus of Destruction accelerated the deterioration of your wounds." Hearing this, Fengjiu's eyes moved slightly. The Black Lotus of Destruction is not ordinary. The aura of the Black Lotus of Destruction permeated my wounds. How did Mo Chin remove it? He said that his master taught him a set of techniques. He used this set of techniques to help you and Tun Yun remove the aura of the Black Lotus. He also said that those people's weapons were only tainted with the aura of the Black Lotus. They were not the ones who possessed the Black Lotus. But one thing is certain, the people who wanted to steal the chaotic green lotus in your body were very powerful. Fengjiu pondered. After a while, she said to Xin Yuanmo's, "If that's the case, I want my brother to take Feng Yi and the others back first. Then he will send Feng Yi and Yang Yang to their master at Wudong Mountain. As for me, I don't think it's appropriate for me to go back now." Hearing this, Xin Yuanmo's looked at her and asked, "You're worried that if you go back now, those people will act against your father and the others?" "Yes," she nodded. "It's rare for them to have peace there. I don't want them to be in danger because of me and worry them." "All right, if that's the case, wash up first. I'll get someone to call your brother over." As he spoke, he reached out to tuck the strands of hair that had fallen on her cheeks behind her ears. Then, he turned around and walked out. Knowing that she had woken up, Du Fan and the others came over early. Guan Shilin, who came with Yi Qing, looked at Ying Yi and asked, "Did your master say anything?" "No, but don't worry, the ghost doctor is fine. She should have something else to do." "Shadow," he said as he walked forward. Not long after, they arrived at the main courtyard. Xin Yuanmo's walked out first. He looked at Lung Hua and asked, "Is Mo Chun in the Fu?" "Yes, he used up a lot of energy last night, so I arranged for him to rest in the mansion." Xin Yuanmo's nodded and looked at Guan Shilin. "Have a seat. She has something to tell you." "Is she okay?" Guan Shilin asked. Before Xianyuan Mose could speak, Lao Bai's voice came from the room. Master is fine. Don't worry. As soon as it finished speaking, it walked out of the room, followed by the fire phoenix that flapped its wings and flew out. She'll be out in a moment, Xianyuan Mose said, and took a sip of the tea in front of him. Chapter 25:51. Seeing that her aura had returned to normal and that she was in good spirits, they were relieved. I asked you to come here because I have something to arrange. Her gaze swept across everyone and finally landed on Guanxilin. Brother, because we haven't found out who the people who attacked me are, I've decided not to go back for now. However, I want you to take Feng Yi and Zhao Yang back and let the family take a good look at Feng Yi before sending them back to Wudou Mountain. Hearing this, Guanxilin was startled. So you don't plan to go back? Yes, she nodded. I'm worried that if I go back, I'll bring trouble to the family, so I want you to send them back. As for us, we can't go back now. She didn't want to disturb the peaceful life of her family, nor did she want to bring danger to them. Therefore, she was the only one who wouldn't bring danger to the Phoenix dynasty. Seeing this, Guanxilin put on a serious expression and said in a low voice, Yes, don't worry. I'll bring them both back. Then you and Yi Qing pack up first. I'll go to Mo Chen's place first and find you later. As for Du Fan and the rest, you can go back to the Heavenly Pill House first. Okay, Guanxilin replied and left with Yi Qing. Master, we'll go back to the building first. They bowed and turned to leave. Lao Bai, you go too. Feng Jiu glanced at Lao Bai. I'll go too. Lao Bai was slightly startled and glanced at the fire phoenix. Seeing that it had stopped on the table and didn't move, he muttered and walked out. Seeing that they had all left, Feng Jiu and Xianyuan Mose let Lung Hua lead the way to the courtyard where Mo Chun was resting. In the side room of the courtyard, Mo Chun had been sitting cross-legged to adjust his aura since he entered the room last night. When he heard a knock on the door, he exhaled softly and withdrew his aura into his body before opening his eyes. Come in. When Feng Jiu heard the conversation from inside, he pushed the door open and walked in with Xianyuan Mose. Mo Chun, I have something to ask you. Feng Jiu came to the inner room and watched him walk out slowly. Only then did he sit down at the table in the outer room with him. Xianyuan Mose glanced at Mo Chun. Seeing that his complexion was much better than last night, he nodded slightly at him. You want to ask me about the Black Lotus of Destruction? Mo Chun sat down at the table. Not long after, Lung Hua outside served them tea. That's right. Feng Jiu looked at him and asked, Do you know what this Black Lotus of Destruction is? Hearing this, Mo Chun smiled gently. He picked up the teacup in front of him and used the lid to gently scrape the tea leaves floating on top. After taking a sip, he put down the teacup and said, Since you have the Green Lotus of Chaos, you should naturally know about this Black Lotus of Destruction. Feng Jiu frowned slightly. I only know that there were 4 lotus seeds in ancient times. One was the green lotus of good fortune, the second was the golden lotus of merit, the third was the red lotus of hellfire, and the fourth was the black lotus of destruction. These 4 lotus seeds all grew from the heart of the green lotus of chaos. However, the green lotus of chaos is with me. Why would the black lotus of destruction appear at this time? Chapter 25:52. But where did the black lotus of annihilation come from? And whose hands did it fall into? The black lotus of annihilation is not an evil lotus. It depends on who has it, Mo Chun said slowly. He looked at Feng Jiu and said, When I go back this time, my master asked me to tell you that when the ancient lotus seeds appear, you have to collect them. Other than the chaotic green lotus, there are 4 other lotus seeds scattered around. The chaotic green lotus is the leader of the 4 lotuses and has the ability to suppress them. You have to do this. Suppress them? But why did I see her surrounded by the aura of the black lotus last night, but the aura of the chaotic green lotus in her body could not even suppress the aura of the black lotus on her wounds? Hearing this, Mo Chen's gaze fell on Feng Jiu and said, The chaotic green lotus in your body must not have bloomed yet. right? An immature, chaotic green lotus only has the ability to heal some simple wounds. Only when the chaotic green lotus is fully grown will it have the ability to revive all things, suppress the four lotuses, and purify them. As he said this, he took out a brocade pouch from his space. He held it in his hand and looked at it for a while before handing it to Fengjiu. My master asked me to give this to you when I came back. Fengjiu was slightly surprised. She opened it and looked at it. Her expression couldn't help but become a little strange. Why does it say that I have to go to Penglai Immortal Island by myself? She looked at Imo-chan and asked, what kind of place is this Penglai Immortal Island? Why is there a stairway to immortality? And you want me to go alone? After saying this, she instinctively looked at Xianyuan Mose. Going alone, didn't that mean that he could not go with her? Did this mean that the two of them had to separate again? Penglai Immortal Island? Imo-chan was startled. He shook his head and said, I've never heard of this place. I don't even know where it is. Is this a map or an array formation on the back? She inadvertently saw an array formation map on the back and was a little dazzled. Xianyuan Mose took a look at it and furrowed his brows. This is the map of the array. If you want to know the map of the array, you have to first break the array and then look at the map. If I'm not mistaken, this map should be the map of Penglai. Did your master say what he wanted me to do in this place? Fengjiu looked at Imo-chan and asked. No, Imo-chan replied. However, my master always has his reasons for doing things. Since he asked you to go to that place, I believe there must be a reason as well. His voice paused slightly as he pondered. Moreover, even I have never heard of this place. I'm afraid this place is very extraordinary. When he saw this, Fengjiu looked at Xianyuan Mose, and his gaze moved down to the brocade pouch in Xianyuan Mose's hand. After a short while, he said, Let's go back. I still have to make arrangements with my brother and the others. As he spoke, he looked at Imo-chan and smiled. I'll take this brocade pouch back and study it. As for whether or not I should listen to your master, I'll have to think about it again. Imo-chan replied. Then I'll go back first. If there's anything, tell him to find me. I will, Fengjiu said, and then said to Lung Hua, Send Imo-chan off. Yes, Lung Hua replied, and gestured for Imo-chan to follow him out. Chapter 25:53. After discussing with Xianyuan Mose and Guanxilin, Fengjiu arranged for a group of 12 people to follow and protect them. At the same time, she also asked the Fire Phoenix to go back with them and help her protect her family. This was the only way she could truly be at ease. Although the Fire Phoenix was a bit unwilling to go back to Fengjiu, it knew what Fengjiu valued the most. Thus, the Fire Phoenix agreed in the end and helped her protect her family. In the early morning of the next day, before the sun had even risen, the group of people left quietly. Guanxilin led the group, followed by Yi Qing, Feng Yi, and Zhao Yang. Feng Yi couldn't guess why Fengjiu's group suddenly didn't go back, and Guanxilin didn't tell him either. In the following days, Fengjiu took the brocade pouch and deciphered the array diagram on it. The array diagram was very exquisite and complicated. She tried to decipher it many times, but she couldn't solve it even once. She could only try again and again. After 3 or 4 days, Fengjiu finally deciphered the array diagram on the back of the brocade pouch. The array diagram she deciphered was indeed a road map. However, she didn't expect that the road to Penglai Immortal Island would be so long. Look, it really isn't in the upper reaches of the continent. She handed the map to Xianyuan Mose for him to look at. He took it and glanced at it, asking, Then what are your plans? Do you really want to go? The main thing is that I don't know where this place is. Fengjiu frowned and pondered. She looked at the array diagram. The brocade pouch that Tianji Elder gave me has this thing inside. Tell me, how can I not go? Since you want to go, then I'll go with you. We could take care of each other on the way. He looked at her and said. He still didn't feel at ease letting her leave his side alone at this time. I don't know what kind of mechanism this Tianjizi set up, but it said that only I can go. She waved the brocade pouch and said, How about this? I'll go and take a look. When the time comes, as long as I have the chance, I'll definitely send a letter back." She hugged his arm and said with a smile, "Moreover, if you are guarding the heavenly pill house, I will be at ease no matter where I am." Hearing this, he chuckled and shook his head. "You? Fine. Since you've said so, then let's do as you wish. During the time that you are not here, I will help you look after the Feng Manor and protect the Heavenly Pill building until you return. However, since you're going out, you still have to make the necessary preparations. Also, remember what Imo-chan said. As long as there's a suitable opportunity, you must cultivate the chaotic green lotus in your body and let it bloom." "And don't worry. I know," Feng Jiu replied with a smile and squinted her eyes. A few days later, Xuanyuan Mose originally wanted her to quietly leave the city, but who would have thought that Feng Jiu would ride on Tun Yun's back? She didn't use her sword and just swaggered through the city's outer gate, as if she wanted to let everyone know that she had left the Heavenly Pill House's 100 River City. Xuanyuan Mose, who knew her intentions, wanted to send people to protect her, but she refused. She hoped to attract all the hidden forces to her. That way, they wouldn't have time to deal with the Heavenly Pill House or Xuanyuan Mose. However, as soon as she spoke, what awaited her was the cultivator committing suicide by biting poison. She looked at the cultivator who had died under her hands. A cultivator of the immortal sage realm had actually bitten the poison hidden under his tongue without any hesitation in order to protect something. At this moment, her heart was cold. What kind of force was this? Why would a cultivator of the immortal sage realm choose to commit suicide after knowing that he couldn't escape from her hands? Chapter 2555. Feng Jiu pursed her lips as she stared at the sage, immortal cultivator lying at her feet. She stared at the dead man for a long while. Nurturing a sage, immortal cultivator as a sacrificial soldier? What kind of power was this? How could they be even stronger than the demons? When she thought of the endless trouble she had gotten herself into, the anger in her heart started to surge. She crouched down and searched the corpse. What's this? Apart from the sage immortal space ring, there was also a round ball of mud covered in yellow mud. Because the line of sight wasn't good and the people inside were also looking for her, she didn't take a closer look. She only took the mud ball from the cultivator's space and put it back into her space. She used some medicine to treat the corpse, leaving no trace behind. Then, she continued to walk into the forest. In the pitch-black night, the forest was filled with the constant chirping of insects. The night wind blew and the leaves rustled. Surprisingly, she didn't meet those people again. As the night deepened, she vaguely heard a secret signal in the forest. The night passed, and the sky gradually brightened. Feng Jiu, who had rested for a night in her space, carefully checked the space ring of the cultivator she had killed. Why is a ball of mud? What could be inside? She looked at the mud ball strangely and smashed it on the ground. She saw that when the yellow mud was smashed and scattered, the small black tile was also revealed. There really is something inside. She picked up the little black tile and looked at it. It seemed to be a symbol of status. Apart from the complicated patterns on it, there was nothing else. Apart from that, there were some communication devices and some treasures in the space. After packing up her things, she took out the route map and looked at it. Because she wanted to lure those people to follow her, but she didn't want them to know the route she was going to take. Now, it was a lot different from the route she was going to take. Swallow Cloud. You can rest here. She patted Swallow Cloud, who was lying beside her and looking at her. She told it to stay in the space while she flashed out. 10 days later, dressed in red, Feng Jiu stood in front of an endless sea. She looked at the waves crashing and the sound of the water surging. The waves behind pushed the waves in front towards the shore. When the salty sea breeze blew in her face, she couldn't help but look around. Then, she lowered her head and looked at the map in her hand. It can't be. We still have to cross this sea. How big is this sea? Moreover, can we cross it? She muttered to herself as she stood by the sea. Then, she looked at the map in her hand and sighed softly. It would be one thing if we knew what lies beyond this island. At least we would know how big this sea is. But the map doesn't show the route here. Isn't this a joke? She took a few steps back and sat down on a rock by the sea. She supported her chin with one hand and stared at the sea in front of her. While she was in a daze, time passed quietly. What surprised her was that the sea was so big, but she didn't see a single ship. Her stomach grumbled, and she suddenly remembered that she hadn't eaten anything for the entire day. But what was there to eat in this place? Chapter 25:56. I've decided I'll eat seafood. She smiled and stood up. Rolling up her sleeves, she walked to the beach and adjusted the spiritual energy in her body. She stepped on the water with the tip of her foot. She came to a deeper part of the water and looked down. Strangely, she didn't see any fish swimming in the water. Thus, she released several spiritual energy auras and splashed the water, but there was still no sign of any edible creatures. Strange? Even if there's no fish in the water, this is the sea. It's impossible that there's no seafood to eat. She muttered strangely and tried again, but she still didn't see any fish or shrimp. Hey, little girl, don't waste your time there. This place is different from other places. Even if you try again, you won't get a fish. Just as Feng Jiu was puzzled, she suddenly heard an old voice with a smile. She looked back and saw a white-haired old man walking over with a walking stick in his hand, waving at her as he shouted. Feng Jiu's toes skimmed across the water, and she returned to the shore. She walked over to the old man and asked, "Uncle, why can't we get any fish here? There should be a lot of seafood in this sea." "Ha ha 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 ha." The old man stroked his beard and laughed. "Hearing your words, I can tell that you're from another place, right? Let this old man tell you. No one has ever thought of getting any seafood in this sea, but there are a lot of sea monsters." Feng Jiu was startled. Sea monsters? What sea monsters? What kind of sea monsters haven't we seen before? In any case, they're just big sea monsters that eat people. All the fish and shrimp in the sea have been eaten by those sea monsters. How can we get a chance to hunt? The old man smiled and sat down on the sand that wasn't hit by the waves. Very few people come to this place. You're a little girl. Why did you come here alone? The old man asked as he stroked his beard. His smiling eyes fell on Feng Jiu, and he couldn't help but smile. You're a beautiful young lady. I've seen many outstanding women, but this is the first time I've seen someone like you. Hearing this, Feng Jiu chuckled. Thank you for your praise, uncle. I was just hungry and thought that there should be a lot of delicious food in the sea nearby. I didn't expect to not even see a fish. Her voice paused, and her gaze landed on the old man. She asked, I don't see anyone else in this area. Where did Uncle come from? What are you doing here? Who says there's no one else? Did you go that way? The old man pointed at a place on a hillside. Feng Jiu was slightly startled. Looking at that place, there were actually a few corners of the house that were faintly visible in the clouds. He couldn't help but feel a little strange. When she came here, she flew on her sword. She had a panoramic view of this area from a high place. It was because she didn't see anyone else that she said that. But now, what was going on with the roofs on the hillside in the distance? She was sure that she definitely didn't miss anything. When I looked earlier, there really wasn't anyone there. Why is it now? She said doubtfully. She retracted her gaze and looked at the old man beside her. She saw that the old man had already inserted his walking stick into the sand in front of him and was sitting cross-legged. He seemed to be sleeping, but also seemed to be cultivating. Chapter 25:57. However, the old man did not open his eyes. Even his breathing was as steady as a stream. He sat there quietly without any fluctuation, as if he was asleep. Seeing this strange old man sitting there quietly, as if there was no one else around, Feng Jiu looked at him, then looked away and stared at the sea. She had to make a trip to this sea. Since she could not find the fish at the bottom of the sea with her spiritual energy, why not? Her eyes flashed, and she became lively. She took off her boots and her red coat. Wearing only her underwear, She walked barefoot towards the sea in front of her. The old man, who was sitting with his eyes closed, seemed to have heard movement. He opened one of his eyes to take a look. He saw that the girl had taken off her coat and boots and was walking towards the sea barefoot. He was so shocked that he quickly opened his eyes. "Little girl, don't think too hard and do something stupid. Everyone only has one life. If you die, you'll have nothing left." He quickly went forward to stop Fengjiu, who was walking towards the sea. When Fengjiu heard this, the corner of her mouth twitched. She turned back to look at the old man and said, "Uncle, I'm not thinking too hard. I just want to go to the sea to take a look. It's said that the bottom of the sea is full of treasures, especially the seafood that can't be seen in the past. It's rare to see such a big sea. Wouldn't it be a pity if I don't go down? If you go down, you won't be able to come back up. There are sea monsters at the bottom of the sea, and those sea monsters eat people," the old man said again. Hearing this, Fengjiu chuckled. "Uncle, you already said that." "Yes, but why do you still want to go down and die? You're such a pretty little girl. Why are you thinking too hard?" The old man pulled her and earnestly persuaded her. "If you're just hungry and want to eat, then come to my house." "How about eating at my house?" Fengjiu was slightly surprised. She looked at the old man. "Go to your house." She could not help but look at the hillside. "There?" Yes, there. "Do you want to go?" Fengjiu, who was standing in the sea, thought for a moment and asked, "Will this be inconvenient?" This old man was a cultivator, and his strength was at the celestial sage realm. Clearly, he was not an ordinary person. But why did his behavior seem a little strange? He didn't even ask about her background, nor did he care if she was a good person or a bad person. He actually said that he would take her to his house. There seemed to be some kind of barrier or array formation around the hillside. Otherwise, it was impossible for her not to see those houses when she passed by. But now, the old man was saying that he would bring her there. No matter how she looked at it, it was a little strange. No, this old man is alone," the old man said with a smile. Seeing this, Fengjiu thought for a while and walked back. "If that's the case, I'll go and disturb you." She walked back and wiped her feet clean. Then, she put on her boots and coat before following the old man to the hillside. Sure enough, it was as she thought. There were indeed formations and barriers in that place. She followed the old man. After passing through those barriers and formations, she finally arrived inside. However, when she saw what was inside, she couldn't help but be a little surprised. Chapter 2558. Everything seemed so natural and normal, but in this natural and normal situation, she vaguely felt that something was wrong. However, she couldn't tell what was wrong with the space. Strange, why are they all wearing their clothes inside out? Fengjiu saw that along the way, everyone she saw, regardless of whether it was the children or the adults, all wore their clothes inside out. Oh, this is the custom here. Different places have different customs. Hee. The old man stroked his beard and laughed. He came to a fruit tree and reached out to pluck a few fruits and handed them to Fengjiu. Here, take this. Fill your stomach first." Fengjiu saw that the fruit in her hand was fresh and juicy. At this time, she was hungry, so she wiped the fruit and took a bite. It tasted crispy and sweet, especially the juicy fruit that quenched her thirst. However, when she raised her head to look at the old man and was about to thank him, she saw that the old man who was originally standing in front of her had disappeared without a trace. "Uncle," she slightly frowned and called out. She looked around, but saw that the surroundings were still as usual. The adults and children were busy, and the children were still playing on the fruit trees. She narrowed her eyes and looked around, muttering, "An illusion?" It seemed that she had met an expert today. The old man's aura was peaceful, and there was no smell of blood. She didn't expect him to be a hidden expert, and now he had trapped her in this illusion. Since it was an illusion, there was naturally a way to break it. But what was going on with these people? If it was an illusion, why did these people appear? Inside the illusion, she was looking for a way to break the illusion. Outside, the old man with a walking stick was holding a mirror in one hand and looking at it. And in the mirror, Fengjiu's figure could be seen. Inside, Fengjiu was pulled by two women into a small path. Come, come, come. My house is fruit wine and roasted meat. I'll take you to eat. That's right. You can have anything you want here. Come, we'll take you to eat. Fengjiu was dragged along the path by the two women. She ate a lot of food and drank a lot of wine in their house. Every time she said she wanted to leave, there would be an irresistible reason and wine sent to her. She ate and drank inside until she could no longer hold on to the alcohol and lay down on the table. However, the two women only smiled and helped her into the room. After settling her down to rest, they left. After the two left, Fengjiu opened his eyes. This place was so real that it made her feel as if she had entered a farmer's house. The people here didn't have any ill intentions and were just ordinary farmers. Could such a place be an illusion? She lay on the bed and thought for a long time, but she couldn't come up with an answer. What was that old man trying to do? Why did he bring her to such a place? To be able to do this silently, it was really a good method. She fell asleep on the bed. When the sky darkened, she suddenly got up and looked around the place. When she walked out of a certain range, she would encounter something invisible to the naked eye, but it really existed. She couldn't help but feel a little strange. Chapter 25:59. How could this be? Isn't this an illusory array? This can't be, right? She followed the path that the old man had brought her in, but found that she could not reach the end. This place seemed to be round, and after walking one round, she would return to the same place. With her proficiency in arrays and boundaries, it was impossible that she could not get out. However, this place was obviously very strange. It was as if she had overlooked something. No, I have to think about it. She slowly walked in front of these small houses, one step at a time, and inadvertently came to the side of a well. What exactly did I overlook? What exactly is wrong? She softly murmured, and her gaze inadvertently fell on the moon in the well. Because she was thinking about something, although her gaze fell on the moon, she was thinking through the moon. However, suddenly, a flash of light flashed through her mind. She abruptly leaned forward, and when she saw the moon in the water, she could not help but widen her eyes in astonishment. Upside down? How could it be upside down? She instinctively raised her head, and sure enough, she saw that the moon in the night sky was upside down. Involuntarily, a thought flashed through her mind. So, it's like this. No wonder those people were wearing clothes that were behind their backs. No wonder this place gave her a very strange feeling. It was because it was upside down. This meant that she was not in an illusory array, but in a mirror. Only in a mirror would everything be upside down. Since she had found the reason, leaving this place would not be a problem. She laughed softly and sat down with her hands on the edge of the well. Her voice was filled with spiritual aura. Old man, are you going to let me out yourself? Or do you want me to break this broken mirror of yours? You know it's a mirror? The old man's voice suddenly sounded with surprise. Hearing that voice, Fengjiu smiled slightly. Other than a mirror, what else is upside down? If I'm not wrong, I should be inside one of the mirror artifacts in your hands, right? Little girl, you're so smart. How long has it been? You actually managed to break the old man's illusionary moon mirror. The old man said with a smile. His tone was normal, as if he was just playing with Fengjiu. He didn't let her out, as Fengjiu had asked. Instead, he smiled and said, "Since you know, then come out yourself. If you can't find a way out, you'll probably have to stay in there for a while." Fengjiu wasn't surprised at all. She just smiled and continued to sit by the well. "Uncle, why did you leave me here? After coming in for so long, my stomach is still empty." "Ha! How could someone who can come to the Thousand Illusions Sea be an ordinary person? Since you're here, you'll naturally have to go through this old man first." The old man's laughter entered Fengjiu's ears. He asked curiously, "Little girl, where did you come from? What's his name? How'd you find this place? Thousand Fantasy Sea?" Fengjiu softly repeated this name in her heart. The map that the Elder of Heavenly Secrets gave only showed that there was a sea here, but he didn't say what this place was called. However, from this old man's words, could it be that he was the person guarding this sea? Chapter 2560. Fengjiu didn't hear any more sounds, so she calmed down. She sat by the well and looked around carefully, looking for a way to get out of here. She raised her head to look at the crescent moon hanging upside down in the sky. In the end, she couldn't help but turn around and look at the well. A glint flashed across her eyes. So that's how it is. Her heart skipped a beat. She knew it. She stood up and looked at the sparkling water in the well. The reflection of the crescent moon made her smile and jump in. The old man, who had been sleeping with his eyes closed, suddenly woke up. He turned his head and saw the mirror beside him flashing with light. Then, the woman in red walked out from it. "Ah, she's out?" He was surprised. He didn't expect the girl to come out so quickly at such a young age. She wasn't simple. "Uncle, can we talk now?" Fengjiu sat down and stared at the old man. "Talk about what? I just want to see if you have the ability to go out to sea." "I don't have anything to talk about." The old man laid down on the sand and crossed his legs. He closed his eyes. "I'm going to sleep. Don't disturb me." Fengjiu was startled. She asked, "Weren't you going to ask me where I came from? What's my name?" "Ah, forget it. I don't want to ask now," the old man said and went asleep. Fengjiu's mouth twitched. She felt that the old man didn't play by the rules. She looked at the night sky and saw that it was still early in the morning. She took out a mat from her space and laid it on the ground. Then, she took out a cloak and covered herself with it. With the sky as her cover and the ground as her hut, it faced the sea and leaned against the mountains. She had to admit that sleeping on the ground here was very different. Looking at the stars in the sky, she felt so small. She listened to the sound of the waves and the whistling of the night wind. Gradually, she fell asleep. The next day, she woke up before dawn. She sat by the sea and hugged her knees. Looking at the sun slowly rising from the sea, she couldn't help but squint. The feeling of watching the sunrise at the seaside was indeed different. Looking at the sun rising from the east, the rays of light scattered on the surface of the sea, refracting the clear and crystalline waves on the surface of the water. It was very beautiful. She stood up, stretched her waist, and stared at the sea in front of her. Until now, she still wanted to eat a seafood feast. Moreover, she wanted to take the opportunity to explore the so-called sea monsters at the bottom of the sea. Thus, she took off her boots, took off her outer clothes, and placed them at the side. She tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and leaped into the sea. A plop was heard, and the old man was startled awake. The old man sat up and looked at the splashing water on the surface of the sea. Then, he glanced at the boots and outer clothes beside him. He couldn't help but stroke his beard and shake his head. He's really bold. He actually dared to go to the bottom of the sea. All right, this old man will see what you can do. He lay down and continued to squint. However, this time, he didn't fall asleep. Instead, he paid attention to the movements on the surface of the sea. Fengjiu, who was at the bottom of the sea, opened her eyes and looked into the sea. She felt a stinging pain when she opened her eyes. Furthermore, she didn't expect that the deeper she went, the colder the water became. It was just as the old man had said. It was bottomless, and there wasn't a single fish or shrimp in sight. Chapter 2561. When the old man heard the commotion, he opened his eyes and looked at the sea. He saw the little girl's head emerge from the sea. Her hair was wet and stuck to her face, making her look like a mess. He couldn't help but shake his head and close his eyes, no longer looking at her. At this moment, Fengjiu walked out of the sea. She dragged her clothes that were dripping with water and sat on the beach. Then she rummaged through her space for something. After a long time, she took out a bead from her space. Found it. She held the bead and smiled. Then she jumped into the sea again. This time, she dived deeper. When she reached the depths, she felt that it was difficult to breathe, so she poured her spirit force into the bead and threw it into the water. In an instant, the seawater split into two sides. As the bead sank, the seawater below also split to the left and right. Spiritual power rolled, and the water surged with great momentum. The old man got up and saw the water ripple with spirit force. He couldn't help but take a step forward to take a look. He stroked his beard and pondered while looking at the sea. After a while, he said, "A water avoidance bead? You even have a treasure like this? Hee, not simple." In the sea, Fengjiu arrived at the bottom of the sea. She saw that there were all kinds of corals and seaweed in the sea. At the bottom, there was some seafood hidden in the sand. Seeing this, she smiled and immediately went forward to pick it up. "This is a sea urchin? This crab looks very fat. This shrimp is big enough for me to eat," she muttered as she put the seafood into a Cosmos bag. When she felt that it was enough, she took the water avoidance bead and prepared to return. However, at this moment, a roar came from the sea that split into two sides. Moreover, it was getting closer and closer to her. Hearing the roar, she looked at the source of the sound. She couldn't see what it was, but she knew that it was very large. "Sea monster." She raised her eyebrows and tied the chinquin pouch to her waist. At the same time, a dagger appeared in her hand. Suddenly, a whisker as thick as an arm shot out with a whoosh. It looked like the whisker of an octopus, and there were suction holes on it. The tentacles wrapped around her feet, trying to drag her away. She didn't avoid it, but allowed herself to be dragged into the sea. After passing through the sea, she finally saw that the so-called sea monster was indeed an enormous octopus. Its tentacles danced in the sea, grabbing her feet and trying to stuff her into its mouth. It was a delicacy delivered to her door. She narrowed her eyes and thought, "This octopus is so big. If I roasted it, it would taste very good." Thinking about this, she waved the dagger in her hand and cut the tentacle wrapped around her feet. When the tentacle was cut, the octopus screamed and waved the other tentacles at her at an extremely fast speed. In the sea, her speed wasn't fast. Therefore, she moved her divine sense and used her spiritual power to control the water avoidance bead to come to her side. In an instant, the two sides of the sea scattered. Without the help of the sea, the octopus fell directly to the bottom of the sea. The tentacles wriggled on the sand and tried to escape. Chapter 2562. The sound of water splashing was accompanied by a strange roar, causing the old man, standing by the sea, to be startled. When he looked over, he saw a large object being thrown over before he could see it clearly. "What is that?" He instinctively took a few steps back to avoid it, and saw that the thing was still moving after being thrown on the ground. You actually caught a sea monster?" The old man stared at Fengjiu as if he had seen a ghost, who was using spiritual energy to remove the traces of water on her body. Spiritual energy brushed past her body, and her originally soaked clothes instantly became dry. Even the water on her hair disappeared, and her beautiful hair softly draped behind her back. Fengjiu glanced at the old man. She used a ribbon to tie up her hair and put on her outer clothes. As for her boots, she did not wear them and left them on the sand, allowing her jade-like white feet to step on the fine sand. "Uncle, do you want to eat seafood?" She revealed a gentle smile, looking like a lady from a respectable family. However, when the old man saw her appearance, his eyelids twitched. A normal girl from a wealthy family would not get herself drenched and go down to the sea to catch a sea monster. Furthermore, he had been guarding this sea for so many years, and he had never seen anyone go down to the sea to catch a sea monster, let alone a normal girl from a wealthy family. "This sea monster can't be eaten, so why did you catch it?" As the old man spoke, he touched the silver net and could not help but be surprised. "This is a treasure. Yes, this is a magic tool." As Fengjiu spoke, she stared at the octopus wriggling in the net and said, "This thing is delicious. It can only be found in places near the sea. You can't find it in ordinary places even if you want to eat it." She looked around and focused her attention on the old man. She smiled and asked, "Uncle, do you want to eat seafood? The things I make are extremely delicious." Hearing this, the old man frowned and asked, "If you have something to say, just say it." This old man is the most straightforward person. I hate people who drag their feet and are hesitant the most. Although this little girl was not hesitant at all, seeing this, she smiled and said straightforwardly, I'll have to trouble you to pick up some branches. I'll make something delicious. Hearing this, the old man choked and stared at her in astonishment. You want this old man to pick up branches? Didn't you say to be straightforward? I've already said it. Don't you want to help? She glanced at him and asked, or do you want to deal with this octopus and some fish, prawns, and crabs? I'll say it first. If you don't help and want to eat my food, I won't do it. That thing of yours doesn't taste good. This old man doesn't want to eat it. The old man said as he walked back to sit on the sand. All right, since old uncle has said so, then I can only do it myself. She shrugged with an indifferent look on her face. Swallow cloud, little white, come out. She called out, and 2 beams of light shot out from the space. The 2 contracted beasts, swallowing cloud and the little white tiger, appeared in front of her. Master, the 2 beasts called out. Little white even rubbed against Fengjiu affectionately. On the other side, the old man saw that she still had 2 contracted beasts and could not help but stare. Chapter 2563. The 2 beasts responded and ran towards the branches. However, they could only bite back with their mouths. They returned to the forest and the seaside again and again. Fengjiu picked up some rocks and formed a simple stove. After lighting the branches, she took out a large pot from her space and filled it with water. Then, she placed the crab she caught in her chinquin bag into the pot to cook. She also processed some fish and prawns. After the crab was cooked, she killed the octopus monster and roasted its tentacles on a metal plate. Then, she sprinkled some spices on it. The strong aroma of meat spread with the sea breeze. When the old man smelled the aroma, he could not help but open one of his eyes to look. He found it strange that she had cut the tentacles into sections and roasted them on the metal plate. When he smelled the aroma, his stomach could not help but growl. When Fengjiu heard it, she looked up and smiled. When she saw Tun Yun and Little White Tiger return, she said to them, All right, that's enough. Just wait here. We'll be able to eat in a while. She placed the grilled food on a large plate for Tun Yun and Little White Tiger to eat. She first ate the tendril claws and then a crab. This place is good. The seafood here is especially fresh. She enjoyed the delicacy very much. As she ate, she looked at the roasted tentacles on the metal plate. When she saw that Tun Yin and Little White Tiger were eating faster, she cut them into bigger pieces and increased the fire. Then, she fed the octopus monster to them. The old man swallowed his saliva when he smelled the aroma. When he saw that Fengjiu really did not ask him to eat, he could not help muttering in his heart, This little girl is really not cute. How could she not respect the old and love the young? He wanted to go over, but felt that he could not bring himself to do so. However, if he did not go over, he could not help but swallow his saliva when he smelled the aroma. In the end, he stood up and went forward with a smile. Little girl, what are you roasting? Why does it smell so good? I've never seen you eat like this before. What spices did you sprinkle on it? Exclusive secret recipe. As Fengjiu spoke, she pushed a large piece of meat in front of Tun Yun. Tun Yun, eat quickly. It won't taste good when it's cold. The old man swallowed his saliva and took a deep breath of the meaty aroma. He said embarrassedly, Little girl, this old man was wrong. This old man should have helped. Look, can you give some to this old man? I've never tasted these things. I really want to eat them. Hearing this, Feng Nine stopped what she was doing and turned her head slightly to look at him with a look of surprise. You want to eat for free? Eat for free? The old man's face turned red. Who was he? How could he eat other people's food for free? He hurriedly said, I won't eat your food for free. I'll pay you. No. Feng Jiu shook her head and refused directly. I don't care about money. Then what do you want? The old man asked. However, she only smiled and did not say anything else. He watched as she sliced open a 3 to 4 kilogram prawn and roasted it. She even added spices to the prawn meat. When the unique aroma wafted out, his heart could not help but stir. Oh, I have a lot of good stuff. Why don't I give this to you? As he spoke, he shook his body and took out a small boat. Chapter 2564. Fengjiu looked at it, then reached out to take it. All right, sit for a while. This prawn is for you. Hearing this, the old man was delighted. I knew you weren't an unreasonable little girl. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and gave him some roasted tentacles and a cooked crab. The old man ate with relish, but his eyes were fixed on the prawn that was still being roasted. It was only when Fengjiu put the prawn on his plate that he broke into a smile. This is the first time I've seen such a way of eating. Little girl, your cooking is really good. He praised as he ate, then asked, Little girl, why do you want to go out to sea? Do you know how many people can't come back after going out to sea? This sea is not a place for just anyone to explore. Fengjiu kept the cloud devourer and the little white tiger, who had eaten their fill, into the space before processing the sea urchins. She chatted with the old man as she busied herself. After a while, she handed the processed sea urchins to the old man. Here, try this. This is good stuff too. It's good for strengthening your body. This is raw. Can it be eaten? The old man looked at Fengjiu in astonishment. Yes. Seeing this, the old man tried it skeptically. It tasted very fresh and sweet in his mouth, so he ate all the sea urchins. However, after eating all the sea urchins, he suddenly remembered, I just ate cooked sea urchins. If I eat some raw sea urchins now, will I have stomachache? Hee hee. Fengjiu laughed out loud. This probably not. Although she said that, her expression was different. When the old man saw this, he was about to say something when he saw the young man's face turn from green to white. He held his stomach and stood up. No, I didn't feel earlier, but now my stomach hurts a little. I have to go relieve myself. As he spoke, he quickly ran into the forest. Seeing this, Fengjiu smiled and looked at the small boat in her hand. Seeing that it was indeed a rare, immortal artifact, she put it away and prepared to rest for a while before going out to sea. However, just as she was resting on the sand, she suddenly felt a pair of eyes watching her. She immediately opened her eyes and saw a cultivator on a sword descending from the sky and looking at her from not far away. The way the other party was looking at her made her a little unhappy, especially when she saw the other party's gaze fall on her bare feet. Her face turned even colder. You're so rude, she said coldly, standing up from the sand. Miss, why are you here alone? The cultivator walked over slowly, his eyes still fixed on Fengjiu. However, this time, he stared at her face and then looked down her snow-white neck. His gaze was impudent and rude, as if he didn't put her in his eyes at all. At this moment, Fengjiu's aura was concealed. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to see through her cultivation base. This person was only at the peak of the immortal sage realm, yet he dared to act so presumptuously because he couldn't see through her cultivation base. Fengjiu turned and walked to the boots at the side. When she was about to put them on, she saw the cultivator in front of her in a flash. Miss, it said that there's a sea guardian here. Have you seen him? Chapter 2565. The cultivator was caught off guard. He took a few steps back before stopping. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the beautiful woman with a cold expression. He smiled in surprise and said, Miss, you're quite capable. Fengjiu glanced at him coldly before withdrawing her gaze. After sweeping the sand under her feet, she put on her boots. The cultivator had seen the world before. With his cultivation at the peak of the sage immortal stage, he naturally wouldn't approach a beauty like a pervert who lost his mind. Especially after the other party flicked her sleeve, he became even more cautious. If he had some thoughts of hunting for beauties before, then now, he suppressed those thoughts and re-examined the beautiful woman in red in front of him. Could it be that this person was hiding her strength? When this thought appeared, he felt that it was a bit inconceivable. This woman wasn't very old, and her bone age was also in front of him. Could it be that such a young woman's strength was already heaven-defying? He didn't believe it no matter what. However, because of what happened just now, he didn't have any thoughts about her right now. After Fengjiu put on her boots, she walked towards the seaside. With a flip of her hand, the small boat appeared in her palm. She pricked her finger with a silver needle and dripped her blood to recognize it as the owner. Then, she threw the small boat into the sea. The small boat instantly grew bigger and floated on the surface of the sea, moving up and down against the waves. Just as she was about to jump onto the small boat, the old man's voice came at this time. Little girl, are you leaving?" The old man quickly walked out of the forest and looked at Fengjiu standing on the seaside and the small boat on the sea. He couldn't help but feel a little reluctant. If she left, it would be difficult for him to eat these delicious things again. "Uncle, I'm leaving. I'll leave those things to you. Take care of yourself. Goodbye," she cupped her hands and said. Then, she jumped onto the small boat. When the cultivator saw this, his eyes flickered and his gaze fell on the small boat. He turned his head and glanced at the old man. "You're the sea guardian?" The old man glanced at the cultivator and didn't even bother to talk to him. He turned to the small stove and looked at those things. Then, he looked at the figure that was already far away. He couldn't help but feel an indescribable feeling in his heart. He had been guarding this sea for so many years, but no one had ever cooked for him. This little girl was the only one. Thinking of this, he looked at the small boat and the red figure gradually disappearing into the distance. Then, he used his divine sense and transmitted a message to her. "Little girl, the Penglai Immortal Island is in this sea. However, its appearance is like a mirage. It's so ethereal that it doesn't seem to exist in this world. As far as I know, the Penglai Immortal Island will appear once every half a month. There are only a few days left before it appears again. You have to make good use of it. Also, the sea monsters in this sea will attack small boats." Fengjiu was surprised when she heard the voice transmission. She stood on the boat and looked back at the shore. When she saw the old man looking at her, she couldn't help but smile. She waved at the old man and shouted, "Uncle, when I come back, I'll treat you to something delicious." Hearing this, the old man couldn't help but smile. Chapter 2566. However, when the old man saw this, he let out a snort and threw out an item. That item reflected a dazzling light under the sun. The cultivator seemed to notice it and suddenly turned around. However, he only saw the dazzling light emitting a strange suction force. In the next moment, he was sucked into a whirlpool as if he had lost his balance. Fengjiu looked at this scene from afar. When she saw the old man waving at her, she revealed a smile and turned around to sit on the boat. As for that cultivator, that was not something she should be curious about. The boat swayed on the sea, and under the control of spiritual power, it went deep into the sea. When she could no longer see the coast, Fengjiu entered the cabin of the boat, changed out of her red female dress, wrapped it around her chest, and put on a red male robe. After changing her clothes, she no longer had the charm and allure of a woman. Instead, she had an evil and seductive aura. She walked out of the cabin and looked at the surrounding sea. Her eyes flashed. Clouds and mist filled the air, making it impossible to see the edges of the surroundings. The only thing that could be seen was the waves pushing the small boat up into the air. Looking at the layers of spray that were pushed out by the waves, he thought about the Penglai Immortal Island. She was curious and expectant about that unknown place. What kind of world would that place be like? She thought about it absent-mindedly until the boat was suddenly hit by something. The waves surged and the boat suddenly moved. She quickly returned to her senses and looked around the boat. The surroundings were as usual. The blue sea water was clearly visible, and the sparkling waves were surging. There seemed to be nothing beside the boat. However, after a while, the boat was hit again. This time, she could clearly feel that it was under the boat. This boat was a celestial treasure, so she wasn't afraid of it breaking. However, what kind of sea monster dared to hit her boat? The thing was hidden under her boat, so she couldn't see it even if she wanted to. She took out the Azure Edge sword. Her spirit force surged, and the Azure Edge sword pierced through the water under the boat. She used her spirit force to control the sword. After the Azure Edge sword pierced through the water, The sea monster that hit the boat seemed to have escaped. The boat returned to normal, and she didn't chase after it. Instead, she put away the azure-edged sword and sat at the bow of the boat. When she reached the depths, she let the boat float on the surface of the sea. She no longer used her spirit force to control the boat. Here, she lay at the bow of the boat and listened to the sound of the waves. When she was hungry, she took food from the space to fill her stomach. When she was thirsty, she took wine from the space. She spent the day on the sea. Aside from the salty sea breeze and the occasional sea monster that hit the boat, there was nothing else. She watched as a day passed, and the sun rose in the west. She rested her head on one hand and looked at the beautiful scenery. It was only when the sky gradually darkened and the surroundings became pitch black that the feeling gradually changed. Lying in this boundless sea and drifting with the waves, it really feels like I've been abandoned by the world. She softly muttered. Because it was too dark, she didn't like it. Thus, she took out the night pearl from the space. In an instant, it was as if a star in the sky had fallen into the sea. It was dazzling and shining. In this dark night, it was like a guiding light. Bang! Chapter 25:67. She steadied herself and stood up. She looked at the dozens of sea monsters of various shapes that appeared around the boat in the night. With a flash of light in her hand, the azure-edged sword appeared in her hand. Mere sea monsters dare to provoke me? She snorted. With a twist of a sword in her hand, a sharp sword chi shot out. However, just as the sword chi shot out, the sea monsters quickly sank into the water and began to attack the bottom of the boat. It was as if they wanted to flip the boat over. Bang! Bang! Bang, bang, bang. Sounds of collisions came from the bottom of the boat. The force was so great that even Fengjiu, who was standing on the boat, began to sway. The boat also swayed from the collisions. It was so great that Fengjiu almost fell off the boat. With the help of the Night Pearl's light, she saw that the sea monsters that appeared to attack the boat were not the so-called fish monsters. Instead, there was something between humans and monsters. The sea monsters clearly had hands and feet. They were like water ghosts in the sea. Some of them tried to climb onto the boat, while others leaned on the side of the boat and pushed it into the depths of the sea. Sensing the movement of the boat and seeing the sea monsters trying to climb onto the boat, she flipped her palm. With a whoosh, a flame shot out and shot towards the sea monsters that were leaning on the side of the boat. Hiss! Ah! Amidst the roars and screams, the sea monsters instinctively slid into the water and did not dare to surface. For a moment, the surface of the sea was calm. It was as if the sea monsters had disappeared. However, in the next moment, a huge force suddenly rose from the bottom of the sea and flipped the boat over. When the boat flipped over, she immediately stood up and shouted, "Retrieve!" The flipped boat shrank and fell in her palm. She sat on the feather and looked at the sea monsters that emerged from the sea. One by one, the sea demons emerged from the water's surface, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws at her. Their mouths emitted unpleasant hissing sounds. Seeing that the sea demons' bodies were greenish-blue in color, which was extremely ugly, she frowned. Suddenly, she jumped down from the feather and slashed with the Qing Feng sword in her hand. Swish! The astral sword Qi, which contained a powerful airflow, streaked across the surface of the water in an arc like a crescent moon. It was so fast that the sea demons that emerged from the surface of the water didn't even have time to sink. Their heads were chopped off by the astral sword Qi and sank into the depths of the sea. Hiss! Screams suddenly sounded, sharp and ear-piercing. When the only surviving sea demons saw this scene, they were so shocked that their eyes bulged, and they quickly fled into the water. Oomph! Fengjiu snorted and tossed the boat back to the surface of the sea. He jumped onto the boat and continued to rest. Perhaps due to the deterrence of that strike, those sea monsters didn't appear for the next 2 days, which made Fengjiu feel calm and bored. A few days later, the sun was very bright at noon. After evaporating the fog on the surface of the sea, there was actually a faint ray of sunlight refracting on the surface of the sea. For some unknown reason, a lively and bustling scene appeared on the empty sea surface. Seeing this scene, her eyes lit up and her heart skipped a beat. She suddenly stood up. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.